The spring major may be over, but the conversation continues here on First Touch. Of course, this is the post-major show. Dazzler rolled this T-Bates. Finally, I can say that, and everybody pops up instead of somebody just not being there this time. Welcome to the show, gentlemen. You all look great, but I got to ask you, how you doing? How you doing?
Doing great, doing great. Some of the best Rocket League we witnessed in a long time, and glad I'm finally back on the screen on FT. You know what I'm saying? How we doing, Base?
I'm always doing good, man. I'm always doing good, doing great.
Before we get into the video, I just have to let all of you know that over 50% of our viewers, 50% are not subscribed to the channel. We are on the road to 50,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and we need your help to get there. So please hit the subscribe button, hit that like button, and enjoy the video.
A lot of Bases takes went right. One of them was wrong, though. We'll get into which one was wrong later on in the show. But I'm excited. We had a really good major. Had some of the best merch they've ever put out. I'm repping it. That's right. Model me. You know what I'm saying? You could do that. I'm a good looking guy.
We have guests joining on the show today. Let's bring in the guests. Jorby and Corelli. Gentlemen, how we doing?
I'm trying to figure out what's funny. I said I was a good looking guy. Is everybody there?
You're a comedian, bro. You're a comedian.
You know, yeah, sure, yeah. You look great.
I think I look absolutely fantastic.
You got to tell me though, was that because you're wearing the RLCS baseball jersey, right? We were having a discussion on our watch party. Was that actually sold there, or was it like a custom made thing?
No, it was sold
we only
there.
saw like a couple of them. Okay,
No, a couple. There was many of them.
Well, I don't know. I don't know. I was just asking because they looked great. That's all I'm saying.
I know, exactly. They look absolutely fantastic. Some of the best merch they've ever came out with. And yeah, so I'm repping them right now.
Well, I'm glad you guys are able to join us here on the show today because, like we said, we got a lot to talk about. First things first, let's talk about the Vitality in the room. Vitality did it. They completed the perfect split. And if you just can't believe the words that are coming out of my mouth, I got a bracket to show you as well. Pull up the bracket.
This ain't rush hour, bro.
Okay. Why rush hour?
Did you not? What? Did you not give it? Oh my! Never mind.
I mean,
I'm too pop culture for you.
I got it, but like, it wasn't. You didn't have to. Of course, I know it ain't no rush hour. I don't see. Never mind. Let's look at the bracket. So of course, Vitality end up winning the spring major. They do it from the lower bracket. Raul, how do you feel knowing that Vitality actually did it, man?
They actually did it, and someone's still a little hesitant to give a certain somebody their kudos. We all know who that person in the room is, but just to know that BDS goes down, or BDS, absolutely incredible in the uppers, and Vitality, we were just like, oh, okay, Zen probably doesn't show up this major, which is okay. He's a rookie, you know, but goes down to the lowers and absolutely just dominates against Genji, against Ruin, and who made it that far, which is kind of crazy. But and then K Corp, obviously a close series, but Zen is always in Vati's head, and he will forever be, I guess, until Vati proves otherwise. Game 7 was a big inclination of that, and goes up and gets his run back, which is actually crazy for a rookie to do this three times. In the regionals and then win the major on his rookie split, goes into the lower bracket, resets the first bracket reset we've seen in a minute. I don't know what else to say, man. He's different.
Dude, straight up unheard of, man. Like, I don't know if anyone's ever going to match this. Like, this is, everyone was already saying this is one of the hardest things that anybody could do. But to come in on your rookie debut, and to just win everything, he hasn't lost a single RLCS tournament that he's participated in. I mean, that's insane. That's insane.
That's interesting. We'll get to that in just a moment. Let's take a look at the Vitality highlights again, just in case you guys missed all of it. It's a very, very big highlight package because Vitality showed up and showed out, averaging 2.33 goals per game, 1.75 assists, 5 saves, and 10 shots over the course of the spring major. They definitely showed up and showed out. Even in this series here against Rule 1, 12-minute and 12-second overtime. Just so much history that Vitality had cemented going into this tournament.
And you got to love I think my favorite part, every time Vitality scored, Radosin, just absolutely popping off, bouncing in that little seat. Like, that was so good to see. I was like, Radosin, the guy that everyone's like, I don't know if he can hang, but boy, they got that guy, man. He was having a blast. It was fun.
You know who else had a really good tournament? It's just that boy right there on that flipper. He said Alpha 54. I mean, I feel like if Zen wasn't on this team, we'd be talking a lot more about Alpha 54.
Fati, where are you going?
We be talking about
bro.
Because I was confused at where he was going. He's there.
He's not expecting Zen there.
Well, he saw him land.
Especially in the bracket reset, though, like Alpha took that series into his own hands, man. Like, the dude was absolutely popping off, and credit to T-Bates, predicting 30 years ago that Alpha 54 was a top 6 player. But it's great. No, that's to his credit. He called him a while ago, and I agreed with him. But look at him go.
I mean, look at him in Game 5. He just put it away. He busted out the LeBron James silencer. Look at him. The pattern in Alpha 54 off the ceiling. 1, 2, 3 eyes on me. But he's not done just yet. I need one more. Alpha said, hold on now. BDS, y'all think y'all got a chance? 1, 2, 3.
That was the best shot.
Good. That's how you silence him. That's what a veteran does, man. He's got the young maestro in Zen balling out. He's got Rado hyping up the crowd, bouncing up and down, shaking his hand every single time they score. But then you got the vet. When you need to close it out, put BDS away, take away their life, he does it. They played one of the best days of Rocket League in a minute. That was pretty impressive.
It really was pretty impressive. And this is where we start to go back to what Jorby was saying, the run. I mean, the question is, how great was this Vitality run? You got to think about, of course, the 12-minute overtime, winning that, the lower bracket run, and then, of course, also just having 3 for 3 in all the regionals. Corelli, I want to start with you, man. How you feel about this Vitality run?
I think for the beginning of the major, definitely started off shaky. I think no doubt Vitality certainly were not world beaters in those first 2 series. I think everyone can agree on that. I think the back half of this run, I would even say after that loss to BDS, something changed with Vitality. I mean, back-to-back 4-0s against Gen G and then Rule 1 and then the win over K-Corp when everyone was looking at Vatira and them in their close series against BDS. I feel like the back half of this bracket for Vitality was really where we saw this is Vitality. This is the world's best team. This is the team that's gone undefeated. This is the team that's winning the tournament, quite frankly. I had no doubts once they got through K-Corp that they were coming back and beating BDS.
Wow. Jorby, do you echo that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, look, the only team that has even come close to repeating that type of performance is in another region in MENA with Falcons last spring when they won all 3. I mean, they won all 9 of their regionals, but in that spring major, getting the whole way to the grand finals and uppers, only to be taken down by Moist. Like, that's the only other team that was able to do that. That was in MENA when nobody was challenging Falcons. Vitality did it in Europe with Vatira and Monkey Moon in the same region, with Seiko in the same region, and it didn't matter. They win all 3 of those tournaments. That's already impressive to win all 3 European tournaments. But to come in the international major, not only win the tournament, but also overcome that adversity. I was so impressed with Radosin because it's so easy for a player to tilt out of the tournament after there were some stinkers Radosin put up. And like you can really internalize that as a player, and that can totally just ruin the rest of your run. But then he figured it out. It started clicking for him, and he helped Vitality get to that grand final. And I thought that, we talk a lot about Zen, and I think Zen does deserve all of that talk. And obviously we're popping off for Alpha, but I think the resilience of Radosin was critical to Vitality even getting to that grand final in the first place. I think it's going to be hard to really vocalize how impressive this run really was.
Chief, you got something to say?
Well, like when it comes down to like, is it the greatest run? Like I think there's something to be said about, having to go through the lower bracket, which makes it longer. I always like that stuff. Granted, we don't have a whole lot of opportunities for super, long lower bracket runs anymore these days, now that a lot of the majors tend to be like single elimination playoff brackets, and generally only tends to be spring where you can kind of have that double elim major super long grueling run. But I will say, I think they absolutely had to beat the best teams at the tournament to do it. And I think for me, I think that's good enough. So because they had to beat Rule 1, who's looking great, number 1 seed out of MENA, who really put a lot of teams through the ringer, made them work really hard for a lot of those games. Had to do it against Gingy, probably the I will say only really solid team out of NA to show up. I think that I felt decent about maybe Gingy could do something against Vitality. Beat the top 4 in Europe, of course. The first time around against BDS, not quite right, but I think they had to be the best teams to do it. So for me, yes, this is currently the best run, I think, especially out of a lower bracket.
Out of a lower bracket.
Ever?
Yeah, because like even I look like it's because like
Cloud9.
I know. I was thinking about that because that's the other like super big like lower bracket
Moist
run.
last year.
Yeah.
Well, Moist
Winter?
last year they didn't end up winning, right?
They did.
ended up
No, they did. They absolutely did.
against.
They lost in
Because
LA,
against
but
Falcons.
then they won in. But
that
then
in
they
spring?
won in spring.
Spring.
Yeah, they were in the.
Oh,
They
yeah,
were in the
yeah,
lower
they did
bracket
beat Falcons,
earlier than
right,
Vitality
right.
was actually.
Yeah. See, but the fact I didn't remember it clearly doesn't mean I thought
He said it wasn't memorable. Well, people will always remember the split slam, so I guess you might have a point there. If you take it in combination with the split, with the winning all 3 regionals in combination with them, then going to the lower bracket on Saturday and then finishing the job, sealing the deal on Sunday. I think that's worthy of maybe still not beating
it
C9, but
completed the arc, you know.
it's one of the most impressive feats in Rocket League history. I got it in as my number 3. In terms of the run itself,
What's number 2?
In
Yeah, I
terms of
wanna
the
know what
run
the other two
itself,
are.
it's number 3. But in terms of the split slam, it's number 2. Split slam number 2. The run itself at the major is number 3. Because I got Moist's run at the major last year in spring higher than Vitality's. And then I have, and then I have, of course, Cloud9 at number 1. That's impossible to beat, in my estimation. That's got to be something that's done in a world championship, not at a major. So, but just to do it in the fashion that they did it, they were the best team coming into the tournament. They looked real shaky. They had a lot of plot armor, and I mean a lot of plot armor. but you need a little bit of luck sometimes to end up getting a W. That happens in everything in life, especially in competition. The ball might bounce just ever so slightly to favor you, and that ends up being the distance. All it takes to, or inevitably come out on top. So the run was really impressive. I loved it, and it's something that honestly probably a lot of us never thought was going to be able to happen. Or probably thought it was highly unlikely to happen, to win all 3 and then come out on top and win the major. That's impressive, man. That's really hard to do.
Yeah, I think the only other example, and this one isn't as strong just because they didn't win the whole thing, but Queso in LA.
Yeah, Queso in LA. Was
I think that's
really
what I was
impressive
thinking
too.
of,
Really
because Queso
impressive
went to
run.
Moist, and so that's okay. Because they ended up losing in the bracket reset, right?
I mean, that run was totally
Yeah.
just unprecedented from a team that had never made a major before. And ran it like that. So like I have that, even though they didn't win, I still have that one up there as like one of the best runs ever.
Imagine if Rise played to the LA crowd. It wouldn't have worked though. They're playing GT.
It's not the same.
They were beating
I
to
mean,
the punch,
how
man.
many other teams have started from lower round 1 and then made it the whole way to the grand final? I think Queso are the only
Not
ones.
many.
Cloud9, right?
Cloud9's
Well,
was,
Cloud9,
yeah,
sorry,
Cloud9's
Cloud9 was lower round
yeah.
1. I thought they were lower round 2,
Cloud9
but
lower round 1.
I don't know, man. Old era, new era, like I feel like that's just in its own place because like the quality of competition back then for Cloud9 versus
Yeah,
the quality
but-
of competition
Okay,
now
but you
is so
gotta keep it
different.
relative to
quality
the
of
time
competition.
period,
Yeah, but
Jorby.
there's something
I
to
get
be
that
said.
it's relative, but
Like at the time, can you say Cloud9 definitely beat the best teams to win that? Probably think they probably shouldn't have had to play OCE at that point in like the lower semis or something. Someone else probably should have performed, but at the time, it was an awesome run to get to see happen. And I think the fact that it beat the world dominating
Dynasty.
Dignitas, that was the real thing that really sells you on that was awesome, right? And so I guess it's a little different here with Vitality. Everyone already thinking they are the world
They were the
beaters,
best.
so,
Exactly.
eh.
Exactly. And that's why also I favor Moist a little bit more as well. Moist, because going into the spring major, Moist wasn't even the favorite out of EU, let alone the world, it was BDS. BDS was the favorite. G2 favorite in NA, of course. G2 is probably the favorite overall for the tournament, but BDS second, Moist third-ish, somewhere in that conversation, and they still went on, made the run, and made amends for what they couldn't do in LA. It was really impressive, and they beat a Falcons team that was on, and they did in a style that
fun.
It was just a fun style. C9 also did a fun style. Vitality just beat people. They do it, and Vitality is aggressive, and I commend them for that, because a lot of teams aren't as aggressive as Vitality, nowhere near, in fact. But Vitality, even as magnificent as Zen is, he's not always going for the clips like Joyo and Gimmick was back in the day. Zen's just super efficient, and you know he can do it every single time, but he's not doing it. Joyo and Rise and Vati, especially last year, they were just having fun with it.
You know what none of those runs had, though? None of those runs had a coach that completely flipped the crowd.
That's the
unified NA and EU together. And then Zen at the bracket reset, when he just got up, started waving the American flag. Like,
that was so funny.
That was just one of the coolest moments ever in the history of esports in general. And like, to me, that's what puts it at number one for me, is Farah just laying his America's team, baby. Everyone talks about NRG, Carrot G, Captain America. I'm sorry, buddy. The French have taken your spot. Farah's Captain America.
Captain America.
That's right.
That's right. Small region.
I was like, this is how desperate we are. We need another team from another region to just take over the torch, because none of our teams could ever show up.
You should have heard CJ. He was like, this is exactly what we want to see. Mod region, North America, being represented by Fair. That's awesome. Man, but yeah, you gotta give credit though to Zen, especially on and off the field, having an impact. You know, you talk about obviously the performance, but again, just being able to get that crowd, who was extremely loud, by the way. Got to give a big shout out to the Boston crowd. They showed up and showed out. A lot of people, especially after Gen G got knocked out yesterday, or on Saturday, expected that, you know, people wouldn't show up. It'd be kind of dead towards on Sunday, but then after the fair speech, and then just seeing people roll in on Sunday and just get hyped, get excited. They cheered for everything. They like, I was super impressed with the Boston crowd. That's definitely one of the best crowds that I've like gotten a chance to work with.
That's the answer. Just knock out all the NA teams, and then we have no choice but to enjoy the good Rocket League.
Just enjoy Rocket League for what it is.
Yeah, that was super solid. Let's talk about Zen a little bit more though, because of course Zen had a masterclass on Championship Sunday, averaging 562 points on Sunday. We got the Zen highlight package. Of course, everyone, we talked about it a little bit earlier before the show got started. Just Zen on Sunday. Why am I looking at version 1 versus face?
I'm looking at Daniel.
That is wild.
This is a mistake. It's supposed to be for the version 1. That was a mistake. When we're talking about this. See, sometimes I can assure the whole entire public that was not on purpose. But
you can say whatever you like.
More copium.
It's just sometimes things just happen. It's just natural. Sometimes things just happen. But let me tell you, that young man right there, he was on one all Sunday. Sunday.
Every time.
All right, bates. Big question. You got him at 10. Where is he now?
Well, you'll see once we get to the next question.
That's true. Yeah, we can't jump the gun.
You can't. I'm not jumping the gun, but let me tell you, he balled out. I don't know where the challenge is from BDS. I'm a little confused right there, but it's fine. We don't need a chow. We could just lose the series. Then he's gonna win it for us. The most impressive play he had the whole entire time What's that
flip was
1v3
crazy.
on
The
defense?
1v3 on defense, that was so
Yep.
good. And it's
Yep.
like, to be fair, it didn't require a whole lot of thinking, to be fair. Once he got through the actual like initial dodge, the demo, at that point it just became the mechanical test, which we all
this
know
is
he
it
can
right
pass.
here.
And here it is. Yeah, see, he dodges the demo, and after that it's like,
50?
okay,
That's
I'm just in
insane.
position, 50-50. Like, it wasn't that, it wasn't super like brilliant, but it's like, yo, way to hold off the 1v3. That's that type of, like that. I'm not going to go out and say like Zen's like an elite defender or anything, but he is incredibly
will.
capable is what I will say.
I'll say he's elite. He's elite. He's elite.
It's a 1v3 right there. That's pretty undeniable.
No, it's
That's
good.
pretty
No,
good
no,
play.
no, no, no.
It's good
Honestly,
play.
that wasn't even his
By
most
Zen.
impressive defensive play, though. He had another defensive play where he was in a stuck in a 1v2 or some of those type of lines, and most people would just cut it immediately. But me and CJ were watching. I gotta find the exact play. He jumped onto the wall and then like ducked in and then flipped out all in one motion. And me and CJ are like, that is insane. And he blocked the shot. I gotta find the play. That was probably his most impressive defensive play the whole entire weekend.
I think he was really impressive. I mean, yeah, I think he's great on defense. I've seen some great plays in the midfield. He's really great on offense. I mean, I would even go as far to say that, you know, he's overall an MVP type player, Bates.
Let's just get right into it. Bates! Is Zen officially the best player in the world? He hasn't lost a tournament yet. He won offensive MVP. He won overall MVP. We've been talking for months. It's time to answer the question.
It's time to answer the question. It hasn't.
The
There
world
we go.
waits for beta. What?
All right. You want me to answer the question? I answer the question. Put that camera on me. I need to address national Twitch television.
Oh, no.
I need to address them. Put that camera on me. Listen. Base was wrong. Base was wrong. But I wasn't wrong about what y'all think I was wrong about. I was actually pretty
Here we
accurate.
go.
One of the few accurate people in the world when it came to talking about Zen. But I'll tell you where I was wrong at first before I get to what I was right about.
All right.
Oh, Jesus. Get the whole life story out.
I got too many people to interrupt my soliloquy. I was wrong because I didn't think the young man would get to where he's gotten at so quickly. I could see the potential. I had him in my top 5 talents at the major. I had him in there. But I didn't think he would ascend to number 1 in the fashion in which he did. It was absolutely incredible. The elevation that Zen put on display on that Sunday, I ain't seen something like that before. I ain't seen it before. He's the clear best player in the world. Clear. But he wasn't clear going into the major, and that's why I was right in that category. I think it was very obvious. You can bring on everybody else. I want to get all the reactions to me speaking.
This is the exact This is the exact.
You're not
done
everybody
yet.
else reactions. No, I wasn't
You
done
brought
yet,
me
though.
back.
I
I'm
wasn't
back,
done
Bates.
yet,
I'm
though.
back.
Yeah, you're back, but you can
Okay,
wait a
finish,
second. I need 20 more seconds.
finish.
I just want to say, Zen Online, he averaged only 402 score per game. He was
Only 402?
Whoa. Only 402. That ain't enough to be the best in the game. I need more. I need more than that, especially when Alpha's averaging more. And Alpha, there was a discussion, and in my eyes, Alpha looked better. Zen, the first 3 days of the tournament, he only averaged 398. Zen
Bates,
looked
how are you wearing glasses? How are you wearing glasses and you're not thinking about the eye test right now, bro? I don't
I'm looking at the eye
understand.
test. He looked slow. He looked like he was a little confused. He looked.
say
He wasn't.
398?
He wasn't.
No. Dazzlerin, yeah, you can zip up. I know it's crazy, man. I don't know how you deal with this every day.
Goodness,
How in the
Bates.
world can you watch Zen play and you be like, he looks slow? Dude has the most efficient movement in all of Rocket League, and it's not even close.
Jorby.
It's literally not close. The dude is a bot. He's like a task machine in a human meat sack, and you're gonna sit here and say he looks slow? No.
Jorby, that is a terrible
bro.
analogy, and I don't even
Terrible
envision that
analogy.
in my head. So let's not utilize those terminologies again. Jorby, you're taking my words and not good faith. When I say he looks slow, of course I'm talking about he looks slow in comparison to how he usually moves, and not even on, let
So,
alone online,
let
but
me ask
also
you a
just in
question.
1v1s as well. Y'all tell me this: on Sunday, was Sunday Zen better than Thursday, Friday, and Saturday?
Yes,
And
that's
how
not
much
a
better
debate.
was he?
Yes.
That's not a debate.
Okay,
Approximately
was online
162
then-
score better.
Was online
goal
Zen
and a couple centers and a few clears.
was online Zen better than Thursday, Friday, and Saturday?
So
Why is this a part of your
It's
argument?
like-
It's a
I-
part of my argument because it's a clear.
here's
Was
the
the
thing.
Sunday Zen not the best you've ever seen him play?
Yes, he
when it
certainly
matters
was.
the most.
Exactly.
When you win a
And
chip.
you have never
But-
seen him play that good.
Right,
and when,
but
he plays that good, it was so obvious that he was the best in the game.
Now,
As a
let me
parent.
ask you a question. Why did you bring up score per game?
I brought up score per game because it shows just how efficient, just how impactful. Because online,
that's
he was
fine.
playing more
That's fine.
passive. And
That's
now,
fine.
go ahead.
So you brought up score per game as a reflection of his general overall performance, correct?
Impact.
And on Sunday it was huge, 562.
It was massive.
Every game, like averaging, that's huge. So what? Please remind me, was his score per game online 398?
It was 400.
Okay, and what was it the first couple days of the major?
398. You see the difference?
2 points? 2 points of difference? That's one ball
Oh,
touch.
you're talking about, okay, yeah, you're talking about the online and him playing online and him playing at the major first 3 days. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he looked like he was a player with talent, but he wasn't playing up to. He wasn't the best player in the world. Wasn't the best player in the world.
He was one ball touch off of his average from
But
online.
but that's what I'm saying though. He wasn't the best player in the world online.
What do you
either.
mean? That's what you're saying.
He wasn't the best player in the world on average.
Score per game is
Online-
not a measurement of best player in the world.
Actually, it does tend to be a great metric. It's one of the few metrics that makes sense. Usually, the best player in the world, they average way more than everybody else. Okay, you know why? Because they're so efficient and they dominate on every statistical category to the point
That
where they're
is
so
true.
consistent to where their points go up. So, yeah, score per game is one of the few metrics across
I'm gonna go
across
find the
games
season
that
where we had
actually-
STDX and find their score per game because they had 12 saves a game and were racking up epic
Okay,
save
you
points and
can't
say,
bring-
look,
who
they're
the
the
heck
best
is
in the
that?
world.
No, of course you gotta take it. You can. I'm talking about if you're gonna use any statistical measurement, that's one of the few statistical measurements you gotta utilize in combination with the eye test, in combination with who you're playing. Zen,
Yes, and the eye test has shown that Zen is unequivocally, at least mechanically, very likely the most efficient and best player in the world, leading through the entire spring split plus
4
major.
events in a row. 4
Like,
events in a
it
row.
hasn't been a
yes.
question, I think, that he is mechanically far better.
Okay, so is that not
I
different
just-
than mechanical best in the world versus just being genuinely the best player
got
in
that
the
too.
game?
That's
He's
not
got
the
that too.
conversation. That's not the conversation, though.
I think
Go
it's a
ahead.
conversation.
That's a different. No, that's a different thing. You're talking about a different thing at
What are you
that
talking
point.
about?
I don't know. What are you talking
talking
about?
about
We're
how
talking
he
about who the best
ascended
player in the
and-
world is, and now you're talking about the best mechanical player, the best decision-making player.
No, I'm
Like,
just
we
talking about
keep
best in the
chopping it
game.
down.
But Michael brought up mechanical best in the
I
game.
brought it up because it's like because mechanics is like there's 3 different tiers, at least in my mind, for how you categorize an overall best player. Right? There's one, mechanical ability. No best player in the world has ever been like awful mechanically. That's just true. Like you can make Turbo Pulsa an argument, but we don't call Turbo Player the best player in the game. He's been the most successful, but nobody says Turbo's the best in the game, right? He's just been an excellent teammate, which is, every team needs him. So there's mechanics 1. Second is decision making. Zen makes excellent decisions. Like the dude, as a mechanical wizard as he is, does he take the ball up the sidewall and try to air dribble every single time and just try and break people
Well,
like
I
you
got a
see
theory- I
Justin,
got a theory
like
on
you
that.
just
I
see
got a theory on
Justin
that.
try and do? Like
I got a
Justin
theory on that
turns the
one.
brain off and says, "Let me air dribble the ball every time," and it looks terrible.
I got a major
no,
theory on that one.
Zen
bumps.
uses the head.
Multiple Zen bumps led to goals. In fact, one led to a game-winning goal for Vitality. And bumps don't show up as an assist. They don't show up as points at all. So that is a crucial part of the game at a high level that's missing from the points category.
That's the
And
only thing.
If you could count that as assists, you'd see Zen's score per game be a lot higher. If you could get points for saving a ball because you bumped the guy who was about to take the shot, Zen's score per game would be way higher. But that is not articulated in the statistics. So just looking at score per game and making your statement about best player in the world, but only off of score per game is
the heck said only off of score per game?
The third aspect of Rocket League: offense, defense, and the physical game. And there is no way to calculate the physical game in score per game because we don't have and only look at score per game and think like that's all that it takes to be the best in the world. Absolutely not. He is also one of the most effective physical players in the world, and that absolutely plays into it. You go back and you watch those series. How many quality and efficient bumps did Zen get on his opponents that either help Vitality stay in the play, save Vitality from getting scored on, or literally directly lead to a Vitality goal? I bet you're going to find a lot of it. And to me, that's part of why he is the best player in the world, period. Score per game is indicative of a trend, but it is not the end-all be-all to figure out who the best player in the world is.
I didn't say it was the end-all be-all. What are you saying, Jorby?
You're using it as your main argument, and I'm telling you score per game is missing.
I'm using it as an
let's
exemplifier for the score per game. Because then you also got to take into account the eye test. Mr. Eye Test, of course, has to bring up the eye test. And the eye test was very clear to me, and I think it should be clear to everybody. The way Zen played on Sunday was significantly better than the way he played any other day that he's ever played Rocket League.
The point we're making is that all of us were willing to say he's the best in the world before Sunday.
Which was an asinine take that makes no sense. Because if you can see how good he was on Sunday, how great he was levels.
I'm sorry, he just got better, dude. What do you want? I'm sorry.
But that's the potential he's always had.
He wasn't even in the MVP conversation.
He's
going
always had that potential.
It's just like Vati playing.
That's like Vati playing bad, and you're just like, well, I'm gonna negate this because he's played better in the past. But like we've known his potential since the beginning, since he's joined the league, we've seen his potential.
You don't rank
and now
somebody.
that he steps up on Sunday, Championship Sunday, the most important day of the entire event.
Thank you, Raul.
Yeah, T-Bates has already said he's willing to give him number one. That's not the question. The issue is have T-Bates not wanting to give him his kudos before Sunday.
Well,
that's the real issue because he says his score per game is 4 points different. That's the stupid part.
No, I mean, the score per game is a nice thing to look at statistically, just to show, just in case the eye test doesn't work for some people. Now, when you take that into the conversation, the score per game, taking into conversation the eye test, you're taking into conversation the fact that he's on land trying to complete the split slam. You're taking the conversation that he still hasn't lost. He's taking the conversation who he had to beat. You had to go up one. You had to beat Carmine Corp on Sunday. You had to beat Monkey Moon Rise and Seiko on Sunday. You had to beat Rule 1 when they're playing perfect defense. And he did all that. When you're taking into account all that, then he becomes the best in the game because he was the best player on Sunday. Before that, he was none of that. He had the potential, sure, but you gotta do it, and he did it. That's why he became the best. That's why I said I was on the
You just wasted time. Like he just before the major and after the major. You wasted all of this time.
Wanted to see it happen. He said T-Bates was totally gonna walk on here if Vitality lost and be like, Zen was never the best player.
Okay,
Answer
this question. Answer this question.
Let me tell you something, because when they got sent to the lower bracket, he was quick to get in my face and say, "Oh, so she's the number one player." That's the number one player right there.
And then what they do?
Answer this question though. This helps me out. If Zen played as good as he did on Sunday the whole entire tournament, they're never in the lower bracket. Am I correct?
Probably, yeah.
Probably.
They're never in the lower bracket. They run that whole entire tournament.
I've actually put them going to the lower bracket on Radosin. I thought Radosin had
that's a good point
really
too.
Poor series. I thought Zen was looking fine.
And fine and looking great are two different things, Jorby.
Absolutely. He still had the movement. He still
Jorby,
had the
that's the
decision
question.
making.
If he plays as good as he did on Sunday,
on his own team. He's hitting the ball on his own team. You're gonna blame Zen? You're gonna blame Zen for not being able to 2v4? I'm sorry.
Jorby. It's a team game. That's not what I asked, though. Zen plays so great. I don't think it matters. As long as you got Zen playing Shaquille O'Neal, you got Alpha as Shaq, and then you got Radosin as Robert Horry or Derek Fisher. I don't know, wherever you want to have him as. And basically, you got the two beasts up front. Answer the question, Jordan Bizzle. If you played like that on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, would he have been in the lower bracket?
He was still playing. He still looked better than anybody else. He still looked better than anybody else.
He was not better than everybody else because Seiko was better, Monkey Moon was better, Rise was better, Abjack was better, Vatsira was better, Exotic
what
was
does this
better.
prove? What does this prove? Bates. No. Bates. What does this prove? Because at the end of the day, we are all sitting here. All six of us are sitting here and agreeing that Zen was the best player at the tournament
on Sunday. Well, he turned into the best player in the world on Sunday, but before then, he was not the best player.
No. Okay. Who's the best player in the tournament then? Because you keep stipulating Sunday. Who is the best player at the tournament then?
It'd be Zen. Okay, you won.
Okay, so just so I understand completely, at the next live event, the only player who gets to be the best is the player that plays well on Sunday
and wins.
Typically, the person who plays the best wins, more or less. It's very hard not to be. Cause you went through, you beat everybody.
Didn't you say recently that like the best player in the tournament could go out in lower round 2?
Yep.
which has happened
contradicted
before.
himself so
Which has
well.
happened
I said typically the best player wins. Now, I didn't close the door and say that the best player could lose. The best player can lose, but typically that's not going to be the case.
The case is closed. We've all agreed that Zen was the best player at the
player.
tournament.
No,
I don't know. I mean, listen.
He was before the major. He is after the major.
No, now.
Then what are we talking about? I mean, honestly, could you even have been in the MVP running, beating Elevate harder? I mean, I don't really think that would prove anything for Vitality.
I mean, they lost.
All it boils down to is
they won.
Here's what I realized. Everybody on this desk except T-Bates already knew what was going to happen this weekend, and T-Bates was the only one that didn't.
That good. He's never played that good. Y'all didn't know that.
Oh, yes, we did.
Oh my lord.
Yes, we
Y'all
did.
never seen it before. Nobody's seen it.
I've
No.
got 3 regionals to play.
We just know ball, Bates. We just know ball.
Yeah.
Average 170 points per game, bro. Play picture perfect Rocket League. Make no mistakes. Dominate the offense and defense and the likes we never seen before. Be a complete player. You could not have expected that. You couldn't have expected that, bro.
We just know ball, bro.
Oh my gosh. Everybody look up.
Bates, we're talking about who's the best player at the tournament, and the goalpost in your mind has been moved to who played the best on Sunday, who played the best on the first day. That's different. We're talking about the entire tournament.
Zen being the best in the world. I'm not talking about best player in the tournament. I'm talking about Zen being best in the world.
You're saying he was the best on Sunday.
No, he's best. He showed that he was the best player.
He was the best player in the world on Sunday. That's what he's saying.
Yes.
That's something that he never did before.
That's fine. That's good enough for me.
Something that he never did before.
And that's fine. That's fine. We're all agreeing, though. I mean, we're all agreeing.
That's all that matters to me.
Let's just agree that his online performance and his at-land performance for the first couple days of the tournaments were not a significant enough difference to say, oh, he could never be the best player in the world.
I don't think he
came out here with score per game saying a 4-point difference made a difference and that he was terrible on land, which is just stupid.
I didn't say he was terrible. I said he wasn't the best in the game. He was not the 15 best player in the tournament.
Well, I know something that we will definitely disagree on, and that's Raul Diz's top 5.
Yes,
so let's get into that. Raul,
here we go, baby.
We got the top 5. Raul always right. Oh goodness, is that a tagline? I don't know. Well, give me your top 5, man. This is top 5 players in the world. Let's see what you got.
Let's see, we're starting with number 1 or number 5?
I think we start with 5.
Number 5? Ooh, okay. All right, there he goes. That boy right there. All right. This is going to be really controversial. I don't really like to be similar to everybody. You know, a lot of people would put Rise in this position probably over Seiko if they had to put 2 BDS players here. But I think Seiko was absolutely dominant in the semis and upper finals, which got him into the grand finals. Yeah, and I think just a testament to the competition he was playing against, he deserves to be number 5 for stepping up in those 2 series and getting BDS to the grand finals. All right, number 4. I don't want to put this guy here. I did not, but I said, let me give him a little break. You know, he's been dominated by Zen in the past couple of tournaments, but he's still stepping up. He's still showing up when he needs to, except for when he plays against Zen. I don't see this guy. That game 7, incredible. Or before game 7 is what I meant. Excuse me. Before game 7. Game 7, he is man. But all right, number 3. Alpha 54. I think he speaks for himself. I had to go back to honestly like really calculate how good Alpha was this entire tournament, but I think he was like, if it wasn't Zen popping off on Sunday, Alpha was the best player on this team. All right, number 2. Yep. The Mr. Consistent Monkey Moon. Yeah, I think this guy was incredible throughout the entire tournament. This is why he was this is why he's higher than Seiko. And yeah, we're gonna fill up this whole thing. It's gonna be blue. So yeah, number 1, just put it up there. I mean, this is
what? How can you do that, Ro?
Is that surprising to y'all? Like
shocking.
Top 5 right there.
Now let me ask you a question. You said you didn't want to put Vati at number 4.
I did not.
Who would you have put if not Vati?
Honestly, See, I got a couple things. I had Clears going up there.
Okay.
Clears playing incredible the entire tournament. I could have put his teammate before him. I could have actually put Exotic up there. I think Exotic played very efficiently and very well the entire tournament. I think Vatira just had a couple more pop-off moments and a little bit more solo plays than Exotic did. But I think Exotic and Itachi were a big reason. Their combination, their 1-2 punch was a big reason for the success this weekend. But
Still not Rise?
or Joy?
Still no Rise.
I think Rise is like, I put Rise like 6, 7, 7, 8.
Fair enough.
All right,
Why
this is
are all y'all
interesting.
acting like this list is okay?
He's
Yeah.
entitled to his opinion.
Okay, but opinions can be wrong. A lot of people are entitled to a lot of incorrect opinions in this world.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
points
yeah,
in
yeah.
there,
Tell me where I'm
incorrect
wrong,
opinions
Vince.
in the world.
Wait.
And
I was gonna say before that, Ben, I don't know if you have this or not, but I was informed last evening after production had received Raul's list, they had then made an interesting note, and they also have a video here to show based off of their response to this list. If we have the video, can we roll it right now?
Yeah, give me a sign that
no.
you guys just play a better game of Rocket League. You guys play more together as a team, and I was like, but we have, in my opinion, we have better individual talents. We have better individual talents across the whole board. So we just played better Rocket League. I guarantee you, and it would be better overall. But it's just selfish. So like that's why we struggle.
Now, when was that?
wasn't that long ago, about a month ago.
So wait, so
that's a base level take right there.
There's two things inside of a month ago. Raul says NA would have crushed him by individual talent, and T-Bates was laughing at him before he went full NA shill. All right, so there's two things that were crazy in that video.
Listen, I was laughing at Pharaoh. I was laughing at, regardless though, Raul, your list is trash.
Tell me why.
Bro.
Don't just tell me it's trash. Tell me why.
Bro, do we even need to talk about it, bro?
Yes. Please tell me why.
The 5 best players in the world are all not from a region. Come on, bro. Come on, bro.
The 5 best players in the world are what? Are
They're all not from EU, bro.
region.
You mean to tell me there is not a single person from North America that's in the top
You're
5?
He forgot the MENA
And
players.
also,
Okay.
He did mention them though. Honorable mention.
Maybe South America.
I can't take your list serious. I don't know.
What you get? Tell you
Oh,
what.
am
You
I
can
missing
change,
Daniel for you? Should
you
I put
can
Daniel up
change
there?
one person, T-Bates. Who do you change?
I mean, you definitely put First Killer in there. Actually,
Okay.
disrespectful to not have First Killer
who's
in
he
there.
better than?
Well, who would you have at number 5?
Seiko.
Takeo.
He's out the
Seiko.
list. Who's at number 4? Oh
Vati.
yeah, Vati too low.
Vati.
Yeah. You got
Vati
Monkey
too
Moon way
low.
too high. Monkey Moon needs to move down. Monkey Moon's hanging on by a thread. He might not be there. First Killer's like it should go Zen, Vati, Alpha. No, Zen, Vati first.
Wait, why are we
First?
starting with
Zen's
Zen?
number 1.
It's okay.
I'm starting from number 1.
Oh,
My bad, my
I'm sorry. I thought you were
apologies.
starting at
Yeah,
That'd
5.
be amazing.
Yeah. It should be Zen, Vati, first, Alpha, and then at that, no, you want to get number 5. You want to put somebody different. Then go ahead. You want to put a Clears or West, or you want to put another EU, or you want to put like Beast Mode, even though he ain't gonna be there, or something like that. Go ahead. I'm not gonna argue any of those spots. But to actually put a whole entire list and not have First Killer in it,
Now, don't
That's
the
a
best
lot.
players normally win?
That's a lot.
Uh-oh.
The best players at a tournament
Oh, here we go.
normally win. Yeah,
Okay, just making sure.
yeah.
We
But
can move
FK
on.
wasn't there. FK wasn't there at that tournament.
I know. He was in the 3 qualifiers though.
Was he sick? What happened?
Listen, you gonna fault LeBron James for not always winning the NBA championship?
Oh, so hang on. Now, Jorby says, hang on. Zen's team had a bad start to the tournament.
You have to bring in basketball.
Base LeBron is at least making the playoffs though, man.
Yeah.
First Kill's gonna be the world championship. Ain't that the playoffs?
That's true. He will be in
This
the
is
World
what I thought.
Championship.
Actually, my advice. Now I thought about it. First Kill's in the main event.
Now, don't get me wrong. Don't get
Yeah,
me
exactly.
wrong. I think we all like First Killer. We all know he's great. That's not a question. It's just, I think at the moment there's nothing wrong with saying top 5 EU at the top 5.
It's definitely something wrong with that. That is a lot. That's Seiko has not looked like a top 5 player in the game. He had a really good series.
He had a
really good
solid tournament.
series. He had a really
Against
You want to
the
say
top
2
two
good series?
teams.
Congratulations. But then he didn't
Against
have
the top 3 teams.
Wait, but tell me this though. Did he have a really good series again in that grand final?
I will say he was not lights
but
out.
they wouldn't make it there if he
no,
wasn't
no.
playing. If he wasn't balling, they wouldn't have
Okay,
even
he had
been
two
there.
really good series, but you could have said the same
They
thing for
wouldn't have been
Rise.
second.
If that's the criteria, then Rise should be top 5. So like just to have a good couple days, y'all man, if you top 5 is kind
But
of
you
crazy.
just put
all I
Zen
know is
number
that-
1 off of 1 day.
All I know is that BDS, Vitality, and K Corp.
You just put Zen number 1 off of 1 day.
That
I
is
didn't
true.
put Zen number 1 off of 1 day. It's off of him
Yes, you
also winning all
did.
3
You just
regionals.
said that like 5
No,
minutes
he
ago.
got elevated. He was in my top 10.
He
was in my
wasn't
top
gonna
10.
be your number 1 if Sunday never happened.
It's-
You
it's-
said this.
That
You
would've happened.
literally said this.
Exactly, but he was in the top 10 though. Seiko wasn't in your top 10 before this. Seiko wasn't in your top 10.
Okay,
Well, it doesn't matter.
bro,
It doesn't
that's
matter
not what
because at
I'm.
the end of the day, BDS, K Corp, and Vitality would never, in a million years, lose to Optic Gaming, and FaZe did. So
It's true.
I don't know what to tell you, man.
And on that note, let's transition into our next topic.
Holy smokes! That was some napalm right there.
We were in Boston, but it felt like the only Americans were the ones holding the baguettes. We were invisible, and they missed out on Championship Sunday for the first time ever. Oh, it was horrible. Let's take a look at the bracket once again. To see exactly what happened, we had GG Mobile One Racing get swept in the lower quarterfinals. I had a first view look at that, and people still call me biased. I couldn't believe it.
It was not a good game. It was not a good goal differential either. They did not get a lot done.
Yeah.
versus
They
Vitality.
got slapped. And NA was gone, and then Vitality had to pick up the flag and put it on their shoulders. What?
That's
Hold
true.
on, I don't even know. Yeah, let's start with you. First round in Furia.
Yeah, baby.
Jorby, let's go. You lost. Who did you lose to? You lost to Moist. They got the
Yep,
revenge, and you went
yeah.
down to NIP, and they took you down too. Like Jorby, what's going on, man? What's
We
going
lost to the
on?
little brothers, bro, and then we lost to the wet boys. It kills me, but you know, Moist ended up being okay in the tournament, but losing to Nip, nah, Furia, you can't be losing to Ninjas of Pajamas. I know that the little brother, I know that they wanted that win more than probably any other match at that event, but like, come on now, 13th through 16th, what the heck was that? I mean, I'm definitely disappointed by the performance. It was not what I had hoped for. They had such a great, like a great ramp into the major, getting 2 top 6s, then winning the
And a win.
Invitational. I was hopeful. It'd been a while since they got there, and then that
Crushed.
game one versus Moist. I was like, oh yeah, this is it, baby. This is it. Finally, this is the penultimate. They're about to make the run. They're gonna take on the top of Europe. I'm telling them. And then they lost. And then the next 3 games happened, and they lost. And then
Lost
they
2
lost
OTs in a row,
to
got
Ninjas and
smacked, and then
Pajamas.
got
And that
smacked.
whole pregame to Ninjas and Pajamas Fury, I'm like, they're gonna lose this. I'm like, they shouldn't lose this, but they're gonna lose this somehow.
Jorby
some
is
way.
the worst diehard Furia fan ever.
It's okay, man.
I'm gutted.
It's okay, man. They'll be back next year, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Jack,
I think they will.
what did you think of NA's performance, sir?
Damar. Oh, well, Damar, I'm glad you asked. I'm glad
let him
you
know,
asked.
I'm muted him, bro.
Oh man. It's not just about this major, Bates. It's about every major in the last 2 seasons. If you saw my tweets the last few days, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. But in case you didn't, let me fill you in, because apparently there's been too much hopium that I've been hearing from, especially Tyler Bates up there, about North America. Let me tell you something about North America right now. I don't care about this major. You know why? Because it's continuing the trend that we have seen from North America over the last 2 seasons. Not this major, not last major, not this season. 2 seasons we have seen a trend of North America decline. North America went 2-7 at this major. In the previous winter major, they went 2-6. Luckily, they went 6-6 in the fall major, not even having a winning record against European teams, by the way. So for North America, I think it's embarrassing. I think it's embarrassing what they've done the last 2 seasons. They've had 1 winning major against Europe, as in 1 win percentage that was above 50% against European teams. They went 7-6 in the winter major in 2 years ago, or 2 seasons ago, with G2 winning. That one had a lot of help from version 1 as well. Bates, G2, does not have a winning record, less than 50% winning percentage against European teams. NRG has a less than 50% winning percentage against EU teams, and that's in the last 2 seasons. Daniel does not have a winning a positive win percentage against EU teams in the lands that he's gone. Atomic does not have a positive win percentage against EU teams that have gone. There's only one team that I have any faith in beating European teams, and that is FaZe Clan. 54%. Just barely over the 50% mark. And of course, there is one other man who had a really good run with version 1. That was Beast Mode. He's at 57% against European teams. Let me tell you something else, Bates. From the teams that have gone to these lands, they've really performed. But we've talked about some of the players. Okay, Vatira, how many majors has he won? 2. He's gone to a major 6 times. How many majors, how many RLCS lands have we seen Garrett and JNaps go to? I'll answer the question. It's 21. 21 times we have seen those players, and how many wins do they have combined? Vatira's gone to 6, and he's won 2. JNaps and Garrett G have gone to 21. How many do they have, Bates?
Don't do it.
How many? Gotta reload.
It's 2. It's the same. It's the same amount. No. NA talent has been disappointing, and it's not just this major, it's not just this season, it's been the whole time, Bates. It's been the whole time. We cannot go around talking about North America being good when they're putting up a 22% win rate against European teams. Our biggest competition in North America, and I'm saying our because I'm on the team. I'm from North America, and we're losing.
Yo, Corelli, next time there's a barbecue, send a memo, bro. I need to be prepared.
Oh, God. Well, let me address that. Let me address that a little quick. You done? First off, you're not on the team. You're not on the team. If anything, you're about to get booted. You're about to get booted. You're about to get. You got. I got a business class flight for you right across to London. You can go ahead over there. If you're doing all that numbers, that's some real haterade energy to go and calculate all them numbers.
It's not hate. It's objective fact. I don't want to say it. No. I did because I speak the truth. No, because I'm speaking the truth. Because I'm the truth sayer. I am the truth sayer, Bates. And you're a liar. You're a liar.
You had to go and do the research, which means you wanted to do it.
That's right.
You're a hater.
I did.
No, because he knew he had to come here.
No, you need to go. No, you're wrong, and you've been wrong, and I've proven you 3 times on this show that you've been wrong.
First off, you cherry picked your numbers. All you did was
I did not cherry pick.
Let me tell you something. First off,
go ahead.
I'm losing out of context. For example, and the one time the NA has a better record, 7-6. Queso beat like 5 NA teams that time, so really it was like 7-2. So I just have a feeling
that's still NA teams losing to European teams.
And I got a feeling that if I go through all the numbers that you went through, it would be NA teams losing to 1 or 2 EU teams. It wouldn't be all of them. It'd be 1 or 2, because that's usually the case. That's usually the case.
The better European teams.
The only European team that loses to NA is Liquid.
Europe usually has a team or 2 teams that ends up beating on NA teams. That's usually the case of it. This major, a little different. We're not that good, but we're not that bad. But we also didn't send our best teams to the major, so you got to take that into account as well. But
so there is a stat that goes the other way for you, and that's Liquid are 1-4 against NA teams. So NA teams like beating up on Liquid, but they can't beat anybody else.
I think the EU always has the great teams, because they make great roster moves, as in they don't play around, and they feel like people are getting complacent. They move people immediately. NA doesn't do that. We have this thing called loyalty, loyalty. Loyalty. For those of y'all who do not know what that is. Europeans don't. They just know about winning. So I guess they factor in the winning over the loyalty. And listen, that's respectable. We value it differently. I heard we want to get the winning done while doing the loyalty, and clearly we don't do it. And clearly we've been failing to achieve that. And also comparing JNaps and Garrett to Vatira, Vatira's the best in the game. JNaps was the best in the game for about season 3, season 4 maybe. Didn't have the squad, and then when was Garrett ever the best in the game?
The point about that one, though, Bates, was that we've sent a lot. And by the way, JNaps and Garrett, JNaps has been in the argument for best player in the world at one point.
Yeah, no, he was the best player in the game.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Season 4. Yeah, he was the best player in my estimation.
Yeah,
he was better than Devo, but his team wasn't as good.
But here's the point: they've always been. If those players, if Atomic and Garrett, and that echelon of North American talent have always had a team that should be good enough to win a championship or a major or anything like that, and they don't. It's that level of player that's getting absolutely crushed against the best EU teams. I don't know what you want.
EU makes
EU
super
players
teams.
are going to less lands and winning more than NA players are going to.
You act like NRG
They're going to
and
less
G2
lands and
haven't
winning
been
more.
considered super teams.
BDS is composed of a roster that had Monkey Moon, who has been, and you can still put him in there. We just talked about it. He has been the best player in the game within the previous 2 years, and is still in the top 5, most definitely in the top 10 conversation. Seiko wasn't the best player in the game conversation last year, and for Raul is somehow in the top 5 right now. I don't think so, but I definitely think he could be in the top 10. And Rise, who was also in the conversation as being in the top 10, if not top 5 players in the game last year.
Yeah,
that is
they
a
have a
super
good team.
No, that's a super team. They go and form super teams.
Right. So if you want to bring up NA loyalty as a positive,
I think that's a positive.
It ain't helping them win anything. Is it a positive?
Listen, and I think that's why a lot of NA teams are going to start making a lot of moves. I think
Do you think LeBron James is the GOAT? Was he a loyal player, T-Bates?
First off, LeBron not the GOAT. Michael Jordan, though, he was loyal and he won. That's why he's the GOAT. LeBron, hop, and kept having to form more and more super teams.
This is a different conversation. They're not. The point is, though, North American teams aren't winning. Who cares about loyalty? If you're not winning, no one cares.
Even when they could be considered
People
super
want to
teams,
see their
they
teams
weren't winning.
win.
That's the thing. That's the thing. Even when they were considered the best players, they weren't winning.
And even when it's been close, Europe are still coming out on top. North America went to 9 overtimes against Europe in this major alone. How many overtimes did they win? 1. They couldn't close it out.
First off, the best NA teams weren't there.
It's just not close.
What's
is
not
what I'm trying to
close?
say. It's not
EU
close.
NA?
See, no, this is the important thing, okay?
Yes.
Here's the thing: is like, look, it takes a true NA fan to admit that you suck. When EU sucks, they lean in. All right, all the Europeans go, "Wow, we're garbage right now." Like, exactly, we have to lean in. Like, if we don't lean in and we don't really be like, guys, we suck. Like, can we stop sucking? Like, we can't sit here and put you in top 5s and put you in top 10s when you all are going out 9 through 12 in the dang tournament. So, like, why don't we do something about it and stop sucking? Instead of trying to convince ourselves that we're not that bad. Convince ourselves that it's not that bad. Even though like someone's like,
It's disrespectful to the
I can still walk
NA
normal. No, bro.
to say that they are bad.
No, it's not. No, it's
NA teams
not.
are not
No,
bad,
it's not
and
disrespectful.
First off,
How
because
are
the
they
EU
not
NA
bad?
thing.
It's not
I'll say right
disrespectful.
now, South America, we suck. All right, well, not we. They
No,
suck.
we're not saying that North. No, I'm not. I am not making the claim that North America is bad. I am making the claim that North America has been lesser to Europe for basically the entirety of Rocket League, and it has been very apparent at this major. It's just one major, but the trend has been continuing throughout the entirety of the RLCS. I am not claiming that North America cannot win something. I'm not claiming that North America cannot beat Europe. There are players and teams that have and will continue to beat Europe. FaZe is a great example of that. Beast Mode and version 1 of past have been an example of that. But we need to stop sitting here and saying, "Oh, North America lost this time, but we still got Daniel, we still got First Killer, we still got Beast Mode." When they're not
even
winning.
there.
How many international titles between those 3 players do we have?
Koi, bro.
I mean, this is the point of the whole conversation. Is we are not winning. They are not winning, and it is not disrespectful to point that out. I didn't do that. I'm just a caster. I'm just pointing out the objective fact.
2 Londoners.
I need y'all to just
Londoners, Englanders.
I need y'all to calm down. This is kind of hitting me a little personally right now. Okay.
Man.
Daz, you were on the best performing NA team, and they're 2/3 Europe.
Yeah.
I want to talk about it, James. I want to talk about it.
Bro,
The best 2
I
performing
think this is an
players.
overreaction. I'm a little upset right now. It's an overreaction because I think it's very clear why EU is winning.
Overreaction
It's
from what? Just this major? Because I've pointed out every other major in the open era so far.
Don't do that.
BDS won the world championship because they picked up Seiko, who was arguably the best player in the game that year.
Okay.
I
What is that? Okay. And
like EU makes more roster moves. I think that's the clear difference between the two. To say that EU is significantly better, I'm not even gonna say NA is better. They're actually pretty equal in terms of talent, individual talent. Now, you want to say Zen's better than everybody else? Go ahead. You want to say
No, you just laughed.
talking
You
about
laughed at
winning,
Roldiz for saying that. They clowned on him for having that exact take.
I was laughing at Farrah. I said that earlier. I was laughing
I know,
at Farrah.
but the production clowned on him.
Oh.
People clowned on Roldiz for just having that take. Are you sure you want to take that?
Well, that's not. But you gotta clown on them because they don't understand. Or they can't rationalize. That's what EU. I talk to all the EU players. EU players will tell it. They talk about it too. They say what is weird in NA because when it's clearly not working, we don't make a change. And that's the only difference. I'm gonna be honest. That's the only difference.
Because that's what we're saying, base.
Sure,
We're begging NA to do
diagnosing
something.
the problem. Diagnosing the problem isn't a crime, and I agree. That's probably a problem.
It's just a differentiation of values. Because to me, and I think also to a lot of NA players, they want to do it, in my opinion, the right way. They want to.
The right way is not losing baits.
Whoa. They want to do it the right way. For example, before Damian Lillard finally has given up on Portland, he was committed. But he wanted to do it the OG way, the right way. You build it, and then you win a championship.
I don't care. I don't think anyone. I think you might be the only person. You're the only person I've ever heard this argument from. People want their teams and their players to win. And if it means making a move, make the moves to be better.
NRG stuck. NRG wanted to do it with the boys that they got, and they realized it wasn't going to work out. But they found that out though. They were loyal to the soil. They didn't go and make a whole bunch of moves, and they found out they're not as good. So now they're gonna make a change. That's just how people in NA we view it that way. I think that's how a lot of players view it. They value playing with their homie. And EU, they value winning immediately. So it don't matter, you my homie. You off the team if I feel you ain't as good. And I respect that. But to act like EU is just that much better than NA. And I think you need to put context behind all those numbers you ran off.
They were, are, and have been.
The context behind the numbers ain't going to support anything you're going to say, Bates.
Bates, there's been 15 RLCS lands. EU's won 10 of them.
15 RLCS lands. Okay, we got to go more to like the modern era in a way. Let's go season six and after.
But that's my point though. Is it's always been this way.
That doesn't help you.
Wait, hang on. I'm sorry. You want to go recent? Fine. Stockholm, BDS, Winter, G2. Great job. You get one. Let's see. London, Moist, Worlds, BDS, Rotterdam. It was Gen G. Oh,
Gen G.
EU. Lol. Last San Diego, K Corp.
I guess FaZe in the final.
Other EU team.
Did we win?
FaZe won the final. Did they win?
No, they lost. But you act as if there was no NA team that was in the conversation.
You were saying let's move up the timelines, and I'm saying fine, we'll stay in the open era, and EU dominate NA in terms of wins.
They're not dominating. They're not dominating.
The only time where it wasn't domination was FaZe. That's one. And I guess when G2 won, of course.
And GG. But y'all don't count Gen G because y'all
Gen G
say
is a North American team with 2/3 European.
Yeah, but they got better by playing.
I want to be clear.
They got better by playing.
I want to be clear.
America.
No. I want to be clear when I say North America. I am talking about North American talent.
So optics,
not the North American representatives. Optics, space stations,
G2s,
the NRGs,
phases.
the G2s, the phases. I think it's great. I have nothing against the Gen Gs and the Furies. I love them, those guys being here. It's nothing about that. I'm talking about the development of North American homegrown talent. It's not that it's bad. It is not doing as well as the European ones.
And once this RLCS season is
plain
over,
and simple.
And when
NA loses again, we can have the conversation again.
Play on the same team. I'm telling you, it's coming. It's coming.
Who's the best player?
They're all going to team up with each other.
I agree. I don't disagree.
I don't disagree. People like y'all. When they all team up, and when they start
I'm with you here on this one,
people around.
That'd be great.
We're gonna come back to this conversation.
I'm happy
to see Zen win a major. We'd like to see that happen.
I'm not gonna change though. I'm not gonna be surprised. I'm not gonna be surprised when you got an NA super team winning. I'm like, wow, they're one. They have the 3 of the best 10 players in the game. Of course they're gonna win. So congratulations. You want a cookie? Clap, clap, clap. To me, that don't matter. Now it matters.
Literally 2 weeks ago, you were like, winning is all that matters. Literally 2 weeks ago, you were like, I only care about winning.
No. That's the player. That's in terms of ranking individual players. In terms of me, like my value,
Not teams.
I care about people who do it the right way, in my opinion, not the joining
There is no
team
right
things.
way to winning,
So,
bro. You just win or you don't.
Yeah, you just win.
No, there's
Thank
a right
you.
way to win it, bro. Everybody knows it.
So let me ask you a
This is
question.
like some
Let me ask you a
arbitrary
question.
thing that
not
you've made
arbitrary.
up, though. That's
if
so
players-
arbitrary.
if players-
It is. You put an arbitrary hurdle in front of the team. You say, "Oh, you got to stay together." That's so arbitrary.
So
Did they
the
win or lose?
Warriors
It is
winning-
binary.
the Warriors
It is,
winning in
it is a
2017.
0 or a
The
1.
The Warriors win in
Oh, here
2017.
we
Was that
go.
impressive? Was it impressive to win with Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson, Kevin Durant, and Draymond Green? Was it impressive to have two of the top 5 basketball players in the game with the top 15 basketball player with the top 25 basketball player? Was it
That's
impressive?
a different
No, it wasn't.
conversation.
It was like obvious.
The best players won.
It was obvious.
So wait. It was obvious why?
Because
Why was
the
it
best
obvious?
players on the same team.
They had the best players on the team. That's right. They had the best players on the team. And the European teams right now, guess who's on those teams? The best
So
players.
congratulations. That's why they're winning. But thank you. You got to my point.
Is Vitality winning boring
Okay.
because
Okay, I guess we
they
agree
have
then. They're better and they're
out
winning.
Out of how many players in the world on their team? Is it boring watching Vitality win because they've got Alpha and Zen, two of the greatest players? Is it boring?
I mean, they're doing it the right way. They doing it the right way, though. I respect
They
that.
just made a roster move. That can't be the right way.
What do you mean?
They picked up Zen.
They had him a year ago.
They signed Zed while Sizen was still on the team. And
They had him a year ago.
basically have Sizen and Radosin sitting there with an inkling in the back of their head, like, you better play well, you're getting replaced. Like,
I
that's
respect
what that
Vitality.
is. I don't know
respect
how
that.
I feel about that.
Alpha stayed on the team the whole
respect
time.
that?
Alpha stayed on team the whole time. Was there for the rebuild. Alpha stayed for the rebuild. They picked up Zen. He had the number 1 draft pick. Picked up Zen, and now they win. I respect that. That's homegrown talent right there, baby.
I
That's
don't know
all I
how
see.
you're arguing against this when your favorite team in G2 didn't win until they picked up Atomic, who was on the machine, if we want to go all the way back there, and who was consistently winning and at the top of North America. Then he goes to G2 and then they start winning. It's like, doesn't make sense. Like, loyalty is not like they won and you were excited about G2 winning because North America's finally winning, but it wasn't from loyalty. Like,
Loyalty. You mean JF Chicago and Rizzo, one of the longest tenure trios of all time?
but they
had to
weren't
pick up
winning
dreams
until they picked up Atomic.
They didn't win anything until they made a move.
Also, V1 made 2 changes within a year of each other. First they picked up Beast Mode, then they
and then
replaced
Daniel.
Torment. So they're not. I mean, are they playing the loyalty game? Doesn't sound like it to me.
No, they're not.
And so if V1 ended up winning this major, would you still have this same argument?
Yes. No, it'd be
That
the same.
loyalty, that
It's so
It
arbitrary.
would be the same. I wouldn't be like if V1 came and slapped everybody. I'd be like, cool, V1 slapped everybody. Congratulations. It's always impressive to win, but I think there's different degrees of impressive depending on what you're doing to end up ultimately creating a roster.
Sometimes when we get to this, 15, 20 minutes into these discussions, I don't know how to combat what you're saying because I don't understand it. I mean, you have just made something up
I did
here.
it though.
You
You don't
have
watch basketball.
made up a
I'm
hurdle.
a basketball dude. That's what we
basketball.
What does basketball have to do with Rocket League?
You
Basketball,
rely so
football.
heavily on the NBA,
I'll
but this
tell
is
you what.
Rocket League.
I'll tell you
This is
what.
a
I'll tell you
video
what.
game,
What does
bro. The video
basketball
game
have
is
to do
different.
with
It's
Rocket
different than
League?
how
It's the
basketball
same
works. I'm
concept.
sorry.
See,
There are some similar concepts, but it's not the same. And you can't use a one-to-one basketball comparison to be
It
like,
applies to
see,
football
they did
too.
it in the NBA, so clearly it should work in Rocket League. Hello, that's not how this works, bro.
It's actually a
this is not
general
the same.
application.
Yeah.
It's actually a
It's
general
the same.
application.
Here's the
This is
thing.
how I grew up. It's a general application. If you put 3 of the best people, if you put 3 of the top
Talent together, they will win.
talent together,
Yes.
they win.
Yes, and we all
Exactly.
agree
That's
on
what I'm
that.
the
saying.
question.
That's what's the question?
So, from my estimation of just listening to this for however long, it seems as though obviously T-Bates values teams sticking together. I think fans, I know fans, that's why I brought up NRG. NRG fans do indeed value the fact that they stuck together for so long and they're like, oh, they're really good, but they haven't figured it out yet. The room's point is that they don't care about that because we're losing and they just want to win because we've been losing for so long. And that's sad.
That to me, that only makes it to when you win more impressive. Hence C9. They stuck together the whole damn time. And then they won, and it was so impressive. They didn't do anything different.
And then
that's
they
what
remained
players
loyal
want to do.
and lost.
This is like this is like
That's why the C9 championship is the greatest RLCS championship there ever has been, and there probably ever will be.
No.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, there's a lot of car soccer left, buddy. Don't go that far.
It's gonna be very hard because we're in a culture right now where people are hopping teams after one split. So like,
why are they
because they all want to be winners, and I respect that. If I'm a competitor, I want to
losing.
win. But not everybody wants to do it that way.
All right. We're stuck on this. Speaking of losing, let's talk about a team that has lost, version 1. V1 acquisition of Daniel. Is it a failure? We got V1 highlights. I know you guys saw them earlier on the Zen one. This is the real one. The V1 highlights will roll. V1 will not be at the RLCS World Championship, barring the performance from North American teams that could have potentially gotten them into that spot. Of course, we say that, but there's also consequences of version 1 not qualifying in the spring regionals. So, question on the table: was V1's acquisition of Daniel a failure? I heard somebody sound like they wanted to talk. Whoever that was, you get to go first.
I don't know if it's necessarily fair to label it a failure quite yet. One split with Daniel, you got to win, and then you also had a few tank outs. Obviously, I think it looks a lot worse because they didn't qualify for the major, and because now that they didn't qualify for the major, they can't make the World Championship. That makes it look worse than it actually is. We talked about this a little bit while we were watch partying. There's potential there in version 1, but it may need a little more time. And unfortunately, with such high stakes, it didn't get done this go around. Is it a failure? Not yet. But if you have a bad start to next season, you might be like, man, you had all off season and it's still not working. Then it might be.
I draw a big parallel to Furia when they picked up Lost, because Lost is a great player. We expected him to elevate Furia. They had some issues, and I think the big issue right now for version 1 is play style. I was actually watching Morgan, aka M-Dog's YouTube video. He has that great proprietary thing that he has of using the stats and the play style graphs that he posts on Reddit all the time. And he put it, I think, the best way for version 1 is they have a very, very high ceiling, clearly, but it's inconsistent. But he also said that version 1 currently, and I absolutely agree with this, they play like 2 players playing a twos match and 1 guy playing Twisted Metal is basically what version 1 is doing on that team. And despite how great Beast Mode and Daniel are in twos, they put themselves in really awkward situations. And so it becomes inconsistent, and that's exactly what we've seen out of their performances. You got 2 top 12s and then a first place, so it's all over the place for version 1. Is it a failure, to answer the question? I don't think so, not yet, only because of what we saw from Furia. I think they need time. I think they need a little bit of time. I think that team is good. Like I know I poked fun at the way they played, but I like that team. I like Beast Mode and Daniels together. I think Com's a great addition. Com's one of the best support players in North America right now. If you got kicked off that team, you could find a team instantly, in my mind. But I think that play style needs some honing in on, because right now it's clearly not working.
Raul, how you feel?
Personally, I think they're all waffling. I think the reason that this V1 team picked up Daniel was to make it to the World Championship, to give them a better chance at winning. I think that's why they made a move this late into the season. So yes, it is a failure. Now, will they be a better team next season?
To achieve that goal, probably, yes,
but it is a failure for why they picked up Daniel. They underperformed drastically. No one expected this. They expected them to be a top team. Even I expected them to be a top team in North America. And NA's getting embarrassed now because they didn't show up, and now they're not going to be at Worlds. So yes, it was a failure.
If that's the metric we're going by, then everybody fails. Everybody's a failure. Everybody's a failure.
Yeah. I remember on First Touch, before the spring split started, I think version 1 were placed as like the 4th best team in the world. Compared to all other regions, and everybody was all talking about how Dan and Beast Mode were going to rinse through absolutely everybody. Nobody in NA, barring FaZe, was going to be able to compete with them. That was the narrative from literally everybody. And the entire time during the spring major, as NA was absolutely blowing themselves apart, all I heard was, it's because NA didn't send their best. V1 would be doing a lot better here. Version 1 this, version 1 that.
Go.
You know, the fact that everybody everybody had version 1 pinned as pretty much number 1 NA. That was the amount of hype that was going on when when they made the move for Daniel. So like this season is an objective failure for version 1. Maybe next season they put it together, but when you have a player of Daniel's caliber get together with Beast Mode, you see what they're doing outside of the RLCS together, and they can't put it together consistently in spring. I do think it is a failure, 100%.
I'm going to jump on this and say it's not a failure. Only because we're talking about version 1's acquisition of Daniel. Maybe their season might have been potentially, but I won't say that the acquisition itself is a failure, because I think it puts it in
that is a good pickup.
A great, right. Daniel was a great pickup. You have Daniel in place of tournament. That's very important. But also, if the roster's sticking together over the course of the offseason, they're going to keep Daniel. They're going to keep Beast Mode. They might, if they do switch up, maybe they might switch a player out or not. But I definitely think that version 1 being on that team put them in so much more of a favorable position. Everybody's seen the potential there. They just haven't found a way of making it consistent yet. So I can't call it a failure.
I think also, to give version 1 a little bit of credit, like they weren't even close to making the major in winter, right? Like they were getting trounced out 9 through 12. Like they lost 3-0 to Dignitas in winter, and lost to a couple of other teams where you maybe expected them to play a little better, especially with a team like Beast Mode on their team. So, they get Daniel and they do win a regional in spring. That's not something to completely dismiss, right? And like the quality of competition that they lost to and the way that they were playing, really version 1's only bad loss in regionals is Decoy. But like everybody else were performing well that they lost to, with NRG when they went on that run. I don't think it was NRG. I know that was Furia who lost to them, but Furia still had beaten version 1 in the first tournament. They got top 6. So like it was a pretty rocky regional, or pretty rocky split, I think, for NA as a whole. And that kind of chaos definitely contributed to it a little bit. But again, I think you'd expect a team with Daniel and Beast Mode to rise above that chaos and be a consistent team. They just weren't.
T-Bates, after synthesizing 5 previous takes.
Oh, most definitely not a failure, bro. Raul and Jorby are tweaking. Raul's criteria is absolutely ridiculous, because if that's the case, then everybody fails who doesn't win the championship. Would you accept it with a success if they made? So would they? Oh no, because that's just all relative. It depends on the context and the team and everybody. Not everybody, like what? Not everybody who comes second is not a failure, bro.
So you're telling me you don't win. That makes you a second place winner?
No, you didn't win. But coming second doesn't mean you're a failure. Are you crazy?
You didn't lift the trophy. They didn't even get to the spot to lift the trophy. They didn't get to the same room to see the trophy.
You act as if Daniel and Beast Mode have been playing together for more than one split. They play one split together.
No, that doesn't matter. They just picked up Zen. Guy won 4 straight tournaments. Don't tell me about one split nonsense.
Vitality was at the major prior to picking up Zen.
Right, but the analogous comparison is they both picked up one player in one split. One team won 4, and one team didn't even make it.
And I think it's clear that one team,
if you're not pushing to make the major and the world championship.
They were pushing to make the major and the world championship.
So they made the move to make that happen this season. They didn't. How is that not a failure?
Because even if they're at the world championship, what is the criteria you are looking at? If they had made the world championship,
the reason version 1 picked up Daniel was to make this major and to make this world championship. Was that the reason they picked up Daniel?
Well, I don't know if any of us know that answer.
Yeah, we don't know that, so I don't.
We can speculate.
Speculation.
Okay, you can speculate, but I don't know. Okay,
if the answer to that question is yes, it's a failure. If the answer to that question is no, is your
personally, I don't think we need to hear it from the horse's mouth. I think that it's safe to assume that they made that move to make this major.
I think the point was to contend for a world championship. And they're not doing that, but that doesn't make them a failure, because say if they're at the world championship and then they lost like 8th or something, I wouldn't call the season as a failure.
The opportunity, like that's the thing. They don't even have the opportunity now. It's like let's tell you what is your personal criteria for a team to be successful, T-Bates?
For a team to be
Yes.
successful,
When you say a team is successful, what do you think of?
I think of a team who, after X certain amount of time, everyone generally meets expectations. They achieve what they want to achieve, and I'm sure V1 and Daniel Beast Mode, in the grand scheme of things, if they play together for another year or two and they don't at least win a major or something, then that's gonna be a major failure, because they're definitely in their minds they want to win a major or win a world championship together. But in this microscope, no. This one little split, no. It's not enough time to count as a failure. Right. And I would say like those two things would be like the first two things I start off on. So to say, but V1's acquisition Daniel a failure, that's way too early. I need to see more.
So
I need to see another split. I need to see another 2 splits or so. And if they miss out on 2 more majors, then you can start saying, okay, hold on, now we need to have that conversation. But missing out on 1 when they weren't even
missed out on Worlds.
Okay, and if they had made Worlds off of the back of other teams, okay, the point, that's not the point. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying if they made Worlds off the back of other teams, that wouldn't make it to where I would not be saying that wouldn't change my analysis whether a failure or not. Yeah, if they made Worlds because Complexity beat Rule 1, would your analysis change on whether or not they're a failure? So why does that matter?
My question, Raul, is if you don't win the world championship, would your season be
a failure or success?
A failure, yeah.
If you don't win the world championship,
I
think technically speaking, your season would technically be a failure, but other people quantify their success differently than others. Technically, your season would be a failure if you don't lift the trophy.
Objectively, yes, you have failed to win the trophy that season. Like objective, 100%, it is objective a failure. Now, I think personal benchmarks for individual players, teams, coaches, that can be shifted. But as a team, yes, objectively, it was a failure.
Every season that somebody plays is not a failure. It depends on the context.
That's why we differentiated that, benchmarks for individual players can be shifted for what is successful and what isn't.
Like you can have a goal of just making a regional and your season would be a success. But if somebody is a winner,
if that's all you want to be,
they would value winning a trophy and thinking that if they don't win a trophy, they failed the season.
Interesting.
I think if Vitality goes into the World Championship and
I think that's a little different.
They will say it's a failure.
I think that's a little different.
Are you serious? Hang on. No. Literally the last First Touch show I was on, which was the last First Touch
before the major.
You were making this argument against Johnny and saying that if you're not first, you're last. So like, to me, if I'm using what you said back then, because you were using that to argue why version 1 should have been in the spring major because they won regional 2. And to you said winning means more than anything else. And if you're not first, you're last.
Winning means more than being consistent.
So wouldn't being last mean like it's a failure?
No.
Does that apply to every team or just this team in particular?
Apply to every. Explain what you mean.
Well, let me go to the extreme. The 2017 Golden State Warriors.
That's a failure.
You take that
if they don't win, that's a failure. That's a different.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
But that's different, though. That's, you see what I'm saying? Like,
it's different
because I'll tell you why it's different.
Because they're showing so much money for the best.
I don't want to bring up basketball no more. But I can tell you why it's different. But the general point being is, yeah, remember the winners. So if you're second, at like you win more money and everything, you finish second, but that's no different. And like you didn't hoist the trophy, but I wouldn't count that as being a failure though. Like if you're last, that's a learning experience. If somebody, Usain Bolt lost a lot of times before he became the greatest. People don't know that he had to become it. So I went every single time he lost, that was a learning experience. Losing isn't a failure. It's an opportunity for you to grow. Now, once you end up becoming one of the best in the game, and you're the best team.
Once you have expectations,
then it becomes failure. So, for example, for Vitality, you've won everything. So, not win the world championship, I know in all three of their minds, and Farrah's mind, and the fan base's mind, that would be a failure because you are expected to win. If version 1 made the world championship, they're not expected to win. And I think that's very clear. So, saying it's a failure.
Didn't you say they were one of the favorites going in?
They would be one of the favorites. They would just be one of the better teams. They'd be one. No, I wouldn't say they'd be one of the favorites. They'd be one of the better teams at this.
Didn't
the
you
skill.
have version 1 like as best in NA at the start of the split?
Off of skill, yeah.
Oh,
I mean, there was a lot of expectation though for version
But yeah,
1.
but they
Even
haven't.
make a major.
It's not over. Is the point I'm making. They still haven't. They haven't hit their groove.
I
It's
agree with
over,
you
though.
Their
It is
season is
over.
over.
I'm talking
I-
about the Daniel experiment isn't over. So to say
Yes,
it's a
no,
failure,
we all
it's a
know
lot.
that, yeah.
And to say
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
Again, teammates agrees with me, and which was like, yeah, the objective pickup of Daniel, it looks worse because they didn't make XYZ. And again, that goes back to,
Yes.
hey, if V1 picked up Daniel to make the major and the world championship, yes, failure. If they picked up Daniel to make a better team, not a failure just yet.
See,
You
this
need-
is
you
kind of
need- you
how
need
I
more
felt.
sample
Bates.
size.
This
That's
is
kinda
how I
two in the
felt in
same.
winter when you were saying after Furia made a roster change after fall, and then they missed the winter major. This is how you're feeling right now. Is how I felt when you were saying that their season and their move was a failure. And to me,
Well,
I think
Furia
that
has
you
been.
like looking. Well, yeah, no, like look, this season, I will admit it. Now that I have seen the totality, because I was asking, wait, let the season play out, and now that we've gone through spring and they bombed out in the major, I would say that this season was a failure for Furia. Like they made the roster move to try to get better quicker and to make a push to make this world championship and to make to try to make winter or spring.
That is
And
true.
so I'm just saying that do I think that this Furia team of Card, Yan, and Lost next season have the capability to have a successful season? I do, but I'm not saying that this season was a success, and I'm not saying that it remains to be seen. No, it was a failure. Furia absolutely didn't meet expectations. Everybody, I mean, literally everybody had version 1 at least top 3 in their list at the start of spring. Almost every single. Okay, Chief. Yes. Put your 6 head down for a second. Okay, everybody else.
Well, actually,
everybody else did, and so I don't see how you can say it's a failure for one team before the season is already over. But for version 1, it's not a failure. We need more time in the tank, especially when they make that move to make the current major and to make the current world championship, of which they made neither.
Teams do make trades for players to make, if you think about any traditional sport, what's the trade deadline? Teams that feel like they have a realistic chance in the playoffs, what do
Yeah,
they
they
do?
make that
They
push.
pick up good people to try and do the
That's
run.
exactly what they do.
So if you apply that type of logic, then yeah, this is definitely the wrong way to go.
I think for me, version 1 season, failure. I think this split was a failure for version 1. Is the Daniel experiment a failure? I would say no, not quite. I agree with Bates on that point.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
But I think
still
far,
still remains to be seen. The Daniel
Let them
experiment
cook,
in
see what
particular.
happens next season, but this one in the bin.
Okay.
yes.
Well, I think it's safe to move forward from there. I actually did want to bring that up because, ironically, that was actually a basketball discussion on NBA and TNT after the Bucks got knocked out. So I want to bring the failure conversation up.
That's funny.
Oh, you're talking about Giannis? Yeah, Giannis said some great things. Raul, you should listen to what Giannis said because clearly you're delusional.
Anyways,
Yeah,
let's
I
move
need to
on.
listen to that.
What should teams in North America do moving forward? Only 5 teams from North America will be in Dusseldorf. We got the optic highlights from this one. I want to start with Corelli here. What do you think North America should
We
do?
still talking
moving
about
forward?
NA?
Are you done? You want to move on?
My bad. I forgot, bro. We've been talking a long time.
with their rosters, or are you? What do you mean?
Yeah,
just in general?
Talk to me about anything. What should be? What do you think should be done?
Blow it up.
I mean, I think you choose the nuclear option for sure. I think, and I don't necessarily think that you need to actually go and blow up every single roster, but I think you need to change rosters. For me, everything's on the table for any team that you say is safe.
They should not be.
The smart play is no team should say, we're good the way we are, because I would hope, my suspicion would be that a lot of North American players are going to come onto the market. So even if you're winning right now, even if you're doing well, I would say, look at every option that you possibly can to make your rosters better. And I would also say, I mean, listen, I'm not in those conversations. I don't know. I'm not going to claim to know. I'm on the outside. But I would also say, in my opinion, Bates going to hate this. If it's not working, change it. Make the changes necessary throughout the season. You get two opportunities to make changes. If things aren't working, get better players who will work in your style better with your team, with your coach, whatever it is, to make the teams better. You need to start winning. And despite my criticisms for North America, I want them to win. us on this panel need a reality check and to say we need to start winning. And you need to make the right teams to start winning, because the teams that we have right now, great, they're winning domestically, but they're not winning internationally.
And I'll say this for the NA pros out there that, you know, they don't want to reach down underneath into the bubble and look at NA. You know what? Why not ask Europeans? There's, you know, you got 2 NA players, like pick up a European, worked out for complexity have been one of the more successful NA teams. Like, I don't think NA teams should like lock themselves out of any option here. If that means bringing in an import player, if that means bringing in unproven bubble players that show a lot of talent,
picked up Chronic.
Or consolidate, for God's sakes. We need to do more of it. France did that multiple times. France didn't get here out of nowhere. Like, they were all spread out, and slowly they started condensing talent. Like, and if it didn't work, they were quick to make changes. And France, they've got that whole culture around it, right? They all participate with each other. They're all making each other better. All that stuff. Besides the point is that they constantly consolidated to get to the point where we're talking about, you know, the big 3 is now an EU, and it's not looking good for literally anybody else, not just NA. Like, it's tough out there. So like NA, you got to pull out all the stops, man. If that means pulling an EU player over, if that means picking up someone from the bubble, like you have to do it, or consolidating big talent. That means First Killer going over with Dan in beast mode or something like that. If he wants that, I don't know, but there needs to be some of that consolidation.
Can I just say one thing? I apologize, Daz. This is probably getting away from the topic at hand, but what is considered a bubble player or an unknown player? Because Achiev's just said, "Oh, well, Chronic." When Jorby said bubble player, but Chronic was finishing top 4 top 12 in regionals beforehand. He was already making regionals. I think
when people say bubble, they probably just mean non-major players. Because people say put 2-piece in the same category, right? But he's been top 8ing for a while now.
Yeah, and I only bring that up because I'm sure if Flitz saw this clip, he'd be fuming. I saw his tweets about, you know, people saying, "Oh, who's the next bubble player?" But people were naming players that were already making regionals. I mean, is that considered bubble? Is it finishing outside the top 12
do you
bubble?
count players on Koi as bubble players?
No.
Okay.
I do.
Okay.
What's the bubble?
Is that the vibe from pros?
Where does the bubble start?
Is that how pros view it? Like,
I don't know how pros view it.
You don't know how pros view it? All right.
Rolders may have a more dialed in.
They're considered pros. Koi.
Okay.
Koi's been in what? How they've qualified for every single regional.
I only ask because they're a team that will consistently qualify, but no one ever gives them a chance, right? Which is
okay, but them being good or bad is different than them qualifying for the professional top 16 tournament.
Sure, that's just why I asked. Because like,
I don't think so.
Because like I think in my head, like,
yes, of course it is.
Go ahead, Michael. I want to hear my question.
Well, it's like I like in my head, I think before you actually like talked it out, I was like, yeah, I'd label Koi players as bubble players, and my brain was telling me like I put them as bubble because like they're on teams that never have a realistic chance of achieving any significant long-term success, i.e. consistently making top 8s, make top 4s, or even, you know, like sniff winning, right?
Exactly.
And then you explained it. It's like, well, they consistently qualify for regionals. It's like, they probably do qualify as pros. It's just like there's a reason that like teams that finish, like the Kansas City Royals for decades, were the bottom of the MLB.
Baseball.
They're the bottom of the league for decades, right? But they are professional players. They are professional players. Don't say that the Kansas City Royals for 30 years were not professional players. They were. They're just not on a good team. So that I think was incorrect of me to say that Koi is bubble players because they're not.
And here's how I'll address, and I think this is how a lot of players should start addressing. Just because you get, by the technical definition, you get paid to play a video game on a salary or whatever. So yes, you're a professional. But in terms of and I always just equate it back to the old structure, RLCS, RRS. There were 8 teams, 10 teams in RLCS. And there were 8 teams in RRS. RRS players could have been getting played. You could have a FlyQuest or something. I wouldn't consider those players pro at the same level as a Garrett or someone on those type of lines. And I think that's the distinction that needs to be made. I was still
that's different though.
No, it's the same
though.
Because barely making a regional, because there's 16 teams in a regional. So making a regional and then getting bounced immediately, it's not a feat.
Well, somebody has to lose.
Trust me, and there's people who are losing, and it's consistent. And it's genuinely consistent who's losing, and it's genuinely consistent who's winning. So
it's just those players.
That's where the distinction, because the pros are making it further on average than the not pros.
The good ones.
The good ones.
The good
You have
players.
just better ones. The
good
players who
ones
are pro
are.
and the players who are pro but are actually on the cusp of
You
being a
can
bubble.
be a bad pro.
You can be a bad pro. They exist.
Yeah.
Or you can be a bubble player who's getting paid like a pro.
Well, yeah, but
Right, but in our example of Koi, they're not bubble players.
I would consider them bubble players.
They're paid to play, and they've consistently. That is disrespectful. That is disrespectful.
My biggest one is Gyro there. I can't say
Yeah,
Gyro's a bubble
exactly.
player.
Like Gyro is a longtime professional. Man has been competing.
That
for
is
a long
disrespectful to
time.
Koi.
Like he is absolutely a professional, and
But
Koi
then
make
Gyro-
every regional. They make every regional. Like if you were making one regional every like 6 of them, then I might start calling you a bubble player.
And
If you can
making
only
every
make
regional
one
is
out of
what
6.
we're doing to is the metric to determine who's a pro. Then I see why so many people are getting overpaid, because that is not good enough. That is simply not good enough to be considered a pro.
Wait,
what? No way,
that's not
bro.
the topic. We're just
So
we're
where's
just
the line?
saying.
Where's the
Line is
line?
you gotta at least win.
Where's the-
I'm not win. Not you have the win. You have the win.
Top
win.
8?
You got I would say about top 8. You gotta get more consistent. You gotta be
Well,
a top 8.
version
You
one's
gotta be
not
a top
pros
10
then.
team.
They win 12.
Yeah,
they
no,
win
yeah.
out
That's
early
good.
twice in a row. They just randomly won one.
Also,
On
NRG
average,
wouldn't have been
Daniel
pro.
Beast Mode and
NRG
them
wouldn't have been
are-
pro.
Daniel and Beast Mode and them are on average have way higher placements than 9 and 12. That is
Right.
that you tried to take that from me.
Okay, and no. Okay, but
NRG wouldn't be then.
NRG finished. They finished top 12,
Well, that's
6 out of
because
9
NRG
regionals.
has
Are they
had a
pro?
player on the team who's not a pro no more, and and now he's not on the team anymore. So I think
What?
NRG.
Who are you talking about?
Oh,
What are you talking about?
Squishy was not pro level. He was bubble, and everybody knew that. And everybody knew that, which is why NRG has been held back. NRG has 2 pros and a bubble player, but now the bubble player is no longer on the team. So now you're going to see Garrett G and Justin, if they stick together, now you're going to see them not finish 9-12 because they don't have a bubble player on the team anymore. So yes. So yes. I mean, like, we just gotta call it like it is. We gotta call it like it is.
Insane.
I mean, it's not insane. It's the facts. We've been talking about it on the show for the past 2 years.
What should NA teams
Oh,
do?
the NRG fans are going to eat you
He's not on
alive.
the team anymore. Come on at me, NRG. I'm not worried about you.
What should NA teams do? As Jorby said, observe all options. Dip into the bubble,
Nah,
look
don't
at
do
those
that.
teams
Don't do all that.
finishing and finish that. It's just not a
No,
bad take.
I want you to observe as many options as possible, but keep it in North America. Keep it in NA.
That's fine.
Keep it
Because
in
there's nothing wrong with trying to cultivate North American talent.
I
As
like
Corelli
that. I like
said,
that
we
one.
do suck. So we should do everything we can to probably build
That
up
S
the
word has been
talent.
thrown out too much on this podcast, and I don't like it. The European fans have probably been enjoying it from you 3,
It's
but I'm
true.
not saying it.
It's true.
I'm
We
not
don't
saying it.
suck. We just don't win.
There we go. I like that one better, Michael.
Consolidating talent, how many realistic full North American teams, North American players, how many teams do you think we can actually have?
Oh, we
I
can have a
think you
legit
can-
5. We can have a legit 5.
No, I think you
Yes, we
could
can.
reasonably. You could maybe fill 3 if you
No,
wanted
we can
to
have
take
we
the
can have a
best.
legit 5 teams. If we put the best of the best, we can have a legit 5, and they'd be nasty. And I think that's gonna happen. To be honest
That's
with you.
15 players.
And we got more than
the
15.
last
Honestly,
NA
I'm
regional.
probably being lesser. 'Cause I think a Sosa and a Gyro could be
how
on a really
many-
good team and stuff like
How
that.
many of those 5 teams would you consider?
I know.
Yeah, what?
No, they're
He's
having
not on
bubble
a bubble
results.
team.
No,
Gyro's
but
not
we
the
were
squishy is.
we were using Koi as an example, but I don't think like Sosa, Gyro, and Cheese are like in terms of would they be in my metric of making RLCS? Would they be on like the old RLCS top 8 teams? No. So then I count them as like quote unquote like not on like that pro level at the moment, but I think they're more than adequate to be like on those teams. They need to split up though. It ain't working. It ain't working for them.
So you're saying the players are pro level, but not the team?
Yeah.
That's made up of the players that you think
That's
are pro
correct.
level?
That's wild. It makes no sense. But
No, because there are players who are on bubble teams right now who are really pro level.
yes,
Who are they really could be on a top 8 team.
yes.
And the team is holding them back, and because they're playing with
Yes,
bubble
and
players.
so what we're saying is, look, if you're one of these top teams that is not having results work out for you, don't be afraid to look at some of those players and consider taking them. Because
agree.
Gen G picks up Chronic, who, as Corelli mentioned, is making top 12s, but he's not really making waves, and they win.
So okay, hang on. I'm just gonna start throwing. I'm just
look
gonna.
around.
I'm gonna start throwing players together. I don't care about like team synergy. I'm just gonna throw like best players together I can. Let's see how many teams we can create. All right. Obvious one. I'm gonna go with first killer, beast mode, Daniel. We'll say that's a team. Okay. Another one. Let's say Lion Blaze, AJ, and Two Piece. Would you consider that one? Would you consider that one potential?
Why'd you
Does
put
that have
Lion
does
Blaze
that
in
big
there?
potential?
Why is Lion Blaze in this conversation right now?
I don't know.
By basic definition, Lion Blaze is nowhere near pro. By the way,
Sorry. I think Lion Blaze individually still.
Lion-
looks
yeah,
pretty
he's
good.
individual.
But
Yeah,
well, that's what I'm saying. I'm
what's
saying
wrong
you're
with
saying
him taking
individual
that?
talents. If we're consolidating, we're taking Lion Blaze off of
you
a
had
bad
two.
team and we're putting
Okay,
him on
you
a
got
good
two.
team.
Okay, you can put Lion Blaze can compete, sure.
Okay, here's another one. All right, here's another one.
this could be good.
I'm just looking. Let's
Take
say
G2
Atomic.
players.
Hang on, Atomic, LJ, Justin.
Okay.
Is that another
Yeah,
one?
that's a
Why
good
are we
team.
giggling?
That's a good team right there.
Okay.
That's a great
You
team.
like that one? Okay,
That's
so
great.
that's three. That's three. I'm still looking. Let's see. I was just looking at the invitational.
Are you looking
teams
at
that
only
made it.
Americans? Or are you thinking at? Are you also looking at Canadian? You're looking at NA players,
I was
Canadians
only
as
looking
well.
at. I was only looking at NA players, so I'm not including like Raise Bull. I'm not including CRR or Abjack or Nolly or any of them.
Yeah, that's
only
fine.
looking at NA players.
Keep going. There's plenty of players. There's plenty of them.
Let's see. We got. Nope, those are Brazilians. Nope, that's Europe.
You're slow. I can say
Dignitas
names for you, bro.
and- okay,
Chicago,
go ahead. I got three teams for you.
Chicago and J-Navs and Garrett G would be a pretty solid team in my estimation. And then you can go Two Piece, Parth, and whoever you want to Shopify. That's another person that's really good. Another team that's really good. You could do.
No Mist? Nobody said Mist yet.
Oh, I didn't say Nick
Or
Costello,
Sip.
and I didn't
There's
say
no
Sipical,
Mr. Sip in
Miss
this yet.
Sipical,
No Mr.
and
Sipical.
other people. There's plenty of names. NA has players.
So
They
you're
get
going to
all
take
on the
Two
same
Piece
team.
and Parth
Miss
before
Sipical
you
and
take
other people.
Mr. Sipical.
I'm just
I don't know about Chicago now.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I was just saying people out loud, bro. I didn't have a list in front of me.
I'm just
But
like,
no, I'm
I think you
taking
can
Nick Costello.
reasonably make three really good teams that have a good shot at winning.
Interesting. That's a challenge. I want everybody to go on Twitter. Use the hashtag First Touch. Go on Twitter. Ping First Touch RL. I wanted to make good teams. I want to see how many great teams y'all can make. I think you can make way more than three. I said five.
I think you can make five good teams.
You can make
I think
about
you can make
7.
3 teams that have a shot to win.
But I think here's the thing that's nice is that we can make 3 teams of individual talent that we think would have a lot of potential, right? Like the talent is there to consolidate if the players are willing to do it. And that's just with NA players. That's not even going outside the pond, right? That wasn't including a Raise Bowl. That wasn't including players like that. So like, I think that, I think there is talent that can compete, but those players either have to get on the same team and make it work. I don't think that there's, like Achieves was saying, I think 3 of the teams that we listed, I think have the potential to be great. I think some that were mentioned have the potential to be pretty good. Although I would put Two Piece and Parth in that big potential category because I think that they are insane.
They're good.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, I think it's fair to say that, NA does have 3 teams. Hopefully next season we don't only have 3 spots because that leads us into our next topic. MENA greater than North America. I saw some people saying some stuff online. Should North America lose a spot to MENA? Worldwide flashes of brilliance in Boston. Of course, we're going to look at the Rule 1 highlights because, my goodness gracious, they showed up and they showed out. A lot of people had question marks on Rule 1 in terms of how they were going to operate and perform in the Boston Major, and those questions were answered based on how well they did. I mean, Achieves, let's start with you. How do you feel?
Well, here's an issue. I think Rule 1, let's start off at the top. Yes, they played very, very well. The issue is when they play teams, I think, that are very, very good, they lose a lot of what makes them, brilliant. Because, like, if you look at their overall run, they played BDS, they played Complexity, Moist, Vitality, and a lot of those teams, Power, of course, and Crew. So the 3 teams that finished below the top 6 were Crew, Power, and Complexity. Those were their 3 matchups that finished below top 6, and they did pretty good. They had a generally more offense than defense. They had a huge goal differential of plus 13, but anybody else better than that, they were completely on defense pretty much. Like, they have a -8 goal differential. They have a minus shot differential, and they have a significant minus game differential against teams in the top 6. So Rule 1, definitely a good enough team to beat everybody's like 3 to 5 seed, but you start looking at, hey, we're the best in the region, and that's where they kind of start to redline, right? And they just have to survive, and they're good enough to survive, maybe even good enough to win. But in general, once they started playing those really good teams, you can play immaculate defense. You can play defense for 12 minutes. But they weren't going to get the job done, unfortunately.
I mean, they could have. They hit a lot of crossbars the first two
Yes, they hit
games.
a bunch of crossbars.
That defense was perfect. They couldn't shoot. But
it was hard. Like that, and I like seeing a good defensive team. But the thing is Rule 1, loved it. And I think there's still more potential, but it still needs more time, right? I think there's total value in bringing more teams from Middle East, North Africa. Awesome. Like, that'll be great, because I think Rule 1 did do good enough. There's something there, and I don't question that. It's just at the moment, when they start going against the best of the best, then they start to get pinned in a little bit. You don't get to see all those fun mechanics and that awesome killer offense come to bear. It has to be like, oh, geez, now we've topped out, right?
I see you. I hear you. We need to have more MENA teams at these majors, but not at the expense of NA teams. This one to nip that in the bud. I've
NA will just get worse if we don't have NA teams, right?
Oh yeah. Then you're just taking away, bro. So
let's get more SSA.
And it shouldn't have been exactly. It shouldn't be at the expense of nobody. Just need more teams in the majors. That's all it is. That's all it is to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't come after anyone's spots. Like, I know even some people said, "Oh, we should take away OCE spots." I wouldn't come after those either. I don't think you should take away any spots at the moment. I think you should, like, I'm sure, as you guys have said, I had to go take a quick pit stop, but I would just add more spots for everyone first before trying to trim down. You could also do it in the future too, where, you know, like for instance, other esports have it where if one region just continually is proving to be very good every single season, that region might get 4 spots, and then the other regions get 3 spots. And that's just something that changes throughout seasons based off of performances throughout a season. You could do that too, but I think that's getting too much into the weeds before we don't even give MENA a chance. They have one team. They have 3 competitive teams, in my opinion, that could do well in the major.
They have 3 teams at the World Championship, and that leads us to our flip. Which region do you think will go further at Worlds, North America or MENA? Of course, you have Falcons and Twisted Minds in the wild card, Rule 1 main event. Any initial thoughts?
Let me think about who's represented first. Twisted Minds, Falcons, and Rule 1 for MENA, correct? And then the finals, it's FaZe, Genji, and
Complexity, G2,
and G2 Space Station. Okay, so when we say further, are we talking higher average placement or objectively the farthest in the bracket?
The team, which region is going to have the second one?
Okay, the highest finish?
Furthest
the highest
finish, yes.
I'll take FaZe and Genji to go further.
Oh, Jack breathed for a second. He sucked in air. I don't know. He didn't sound like he agreed. Well, listen, he's already gone on soliloquy on how much NA is terrible. So to say that mean it's gonna go better than this, bro. Just go all in. Just throw all your eggs in the basket. Just throw all in.
No. I think the only team that I have confidence in is FaZe from North America at the moment. So I'll pick FaZe to make a run.
Yeah, I think FaZe will. I can't see them like stinking out twice. I think they are probably the only team I would have picking to go deeper. Like Genji, honestly, with like watching the MENA regionals, watching Twisted Minds, man, I think that team is going to surprise a lot of people who don't normally follow the Middle East. Like that team can really do damage, especially in this wild card. Like this wild card is really nice for them. Like they got the best teams here in wild card. You got Complexity, you have G2 in here, you got Moist, and you have a smattering of other teams like Space Station are in there. But honestly, I think Twisted Minds play in their best Rocket League. I think I'm just going to go up the list. I think they can beat Secret. It hurts my South American love. I think they can beat their brothers in Falcons. They can beat Space Station. They'll beat Power. They'll beat Pioneers. They'll beat Oxygen. They'll beat Moist. They'll beat Limitless. They'll beat Crew. They'll beat Game of Gladiators. They'll beat G2. They'll beat G1. They'll beat French Class. Well, who knows? France. They'll beat Elevate. elevate. Maybe they lose to complexity. That's just in wild card. I think.
They just beat everybody.
That's MENA. That's MENA number 3. Okay, and Falcons at land haven't been the greatest when they have made land, but I like that team has to be a threat, but I wouldn't pick them to go deep. But I think Twisted Minds are a massive dark horse. I think people are going to be shocked by that team. And I think it's very reasonable to suggest that MENA can and
that was a roller coaster, dude.
Finish above everybody in NA except for FaZe.
See? I feel you. I hear you, but you gotta understand what the bracket. You gotta understand this group stage because we already have teams in the group stage. We know at least if Wikipedia is correct. Now, keep in mind sometimes Wikipedia is wrong, but if they're correct, you got Gen G and Rule 1 in the same side of the bracket in Group B. FaZe and Vitality are also in the same side of the bracket. So then it depends on wildcard placements. Rule 1 will play the number 1 in the wildcard. Gen G will play wildcard number 7. Now, in terms of 2, 5, and 8, 2 plays BDS, 8 plays K-Corp, 5 plays Team Liquid. Keep in mind, double elimination in the group stage to qualify for the playoff bracket. So I think it really does depend on how that wildcard goes and where those teams end up because
it's not an easy run through groups, regardless.
It's not. It really isn't. And
okay,
but if FaZe just for clarity, because if we're going to use the bracket, that's fine. I didn't actually look at the bracket, and so I see your point. But if FaZe, let's say FaZe loses to Vitality, wouldn't that? And assuming FaZe still does really well, wouldn't that just put them on the opposite side of the playoff bracket?
It would. I think so.
Yeah,
that tracks in my brain.
Yeah.
Okay, I think it's a very clear answer. North America. It's gonna have a further team. It's more likely. Now, can Rule 1 and Falcons Twisted Mind? I think I definitely can see at least one of them, if not more of them, get in top 8. I can see that being a reality. Now,
the very compelling one is highest average placement. I think we would all take North America to probably go further.
Yeah.
But average placement very well could lead MENA.
MENA might have the higher average placement. I can see a lot of them doing a lot of well, but making all the way to like a semis or a grands, that's a different conversation.
They really like if Rule 1 was your best Middle Eastern team and they just sat there and got worked by Vitality for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be honest. I have obviously most of my faith on Rule 1. I mean, Falcons have been really not impressive internationally this season. Like they've been Falcons.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, Falcons have not. No.
Sure.
I thought they looked pretty good in winter. They look pretty decent.
They looked okay in winter. I guess I like.
I think but you're saying they look pretty decent.
I know what you're saying.
They didn't really look all that great in fall. And granted, that was a long time ago, but I do think, if we're talking about average placement, I think MENA certainly has the upper hand just because of less teams. I think NA has a bigger chance for a lot of teams to file out. And I just want to point out that we're all talking about dodging EU teams in this, by the way. But I still think FaZe could make a deep run to say.
Don't say all. It was Demar. He brought it up.
I was just pointing out the bracket. And now keep in mind, Falcons have lost to Gen G in playoffs in winter. That's how they got eliminated from the tournament. So I'm already very confident.
You remember that one?
What's on that one? Let me see. I'm going to click this thing. No, CJ and Stumpy. They were watching us. So look, I wasn't even there. So that's all.
You were there. You were somewhere.
Say. Oh, I was there in spirit with my Gen G Mobile racing jacket.
Interesting.
It's a clean jacket.
It's interesting how the narrative could potentially change. MENA might surpass North America as a second best region in RLCS.
And God forbid if North America tanks out below South America.
Oh, don't get me started on that because everybody was talking trash about the first touch top 10. There's no SAMs teams. Why is there no SAM teams in the top 10?
Yeah,
go
and then we had
major.
Rule 1 in there, and what happened?
Right. That's what happened. You know what? Let's bring back the first touch top 10. We about to do this again. Get to save the takes until the list is over. First touch is top 10 teams in the world. Will it be in all
Post-major.
Post-major. The major just happened. We'll see what happens. I heard before we got into this, the lists were a little interesting, so I don't know what the average is going to be.
Listen, us on the bottom of this screen, by the way, we ain't being a part of this. We did not make this. I'm not even in it. That's okay.
Give me number 10.
What's number 10 looking like on the first FT top 10? What?
Rule 1.
Oh, interesting. Row 110? That's a little interesting.
Yeah, I didn't
Very
have those.
interesting.
I
think what's
gonna
happen is if this list is bad, then I'm about to take away everybody's ability to vote on this because it's just
wants to reverse
Reveal your votes, Bates. Reveal your votes.
Number 9.
Oh wait,
one on this list.
Oh wait. They say it's not. Is it updated? Is it
Wait,
not
what
updated?
oh
wait.
wait, this is last time list. Why is it not updated?
Oh, it's not updated. Oh,
we have a production
no.
error.
Okay.
Pump the brakes.
Fantastic.
Pump the
How'd that
brakes.
happen?
Everybody stop. Everybody calm
While
down.
we wait for that, let's admire that photo of Dads and Stacks right there at the bottom. Oh,
Yeah.
what a great
picture.
action shot.
That's a good picture.
Apparently, it's not updated.
Thank you for
Unbelievable.
complimenting my intro, by the way, Chiefs. I
It was so
appreciated
good. I
that.
was like, that sounded great.
Oh, you're talking about when he caught it?
Yeah.
That's for that series off of Waves thing. What was that? Making the grand finals or something like that. That was a good throw. I saw it. I was like, that was a good catch. I was like, okay, Demar, I hear you a little sauce, a little action.
You know, when you stand next to Stacks, you know, it puts a little pressure on you. So thankfully, like the way we talk about it is like I'll kind of like go next to him a little bit, like I might have some. He's like, oh, you got some? Okay, yeah, you go ahead, and then like he just lets me cook. But there's a lot of pressure when you see that Stacks doing all them intros. You see they gave him a medal and everything. I'm like, all right, I appreciate that he allows me to do that.
Yeah, that was really good. That was good. It had the right tone, I should say, or it wasn't too loud. It was loud, but it wasn't too loud. So Mike wasn't peaking, and it had to good words. What'd you say? If you want to make it to the grand final, or something. What'd you say?
I said greatness isn't given; it's earned.
It's earned. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, ooh, okay, it is earned. That's facts. It's earned.
That's a
already.
line.
Yeah. It was Blue Wall versus the Swarm. Love that. That was a good time. Again, big shouts to the crowd there. The crowd was like really they were so into it. I messed up the Game 7 one though. I stuttered just a little bit.
Yeah, and me and Gibbs were laughing.
Everybody who knew, I hugged Stacks because I hesitated for like a split second.
Yeah,
I was
me and
like,
Gibbs were laughing because it was funny. It was cute. It was cute that you messed up. It was such an honest mistake. And it was also Spaceman. He said, "Killer," and he forgot the Z, and he said, Z. That's what I was missing. That's what I was missing.
all right, we got the top 10 updated here. Let's try to get back into it. First touch top 10. We got the whole top 10.
Optic top 10. Interesting.
Optic, bro.
Digi phase.
Oh, I wonder what one is.
No,
Can't tell me what one is. Yeah.
Where is Vitality?
Jorby, look at how
Probably
many
the top
teams there
Jorby.
are.
Oh wait, that doesn't say one. That doesn't say one. My God, bro. I saw Optic and Tilted.
Come on, baby! We got more NA teams in the top 10. North America still on top. LT not playing around. But listen, that's just the facts of the matter. We've been hyping. The bottom 3 people have been trashing NA all day. But the best team is still representing the American flag.
Hey, look at that. There's 5 NA teams on that list.
It's 4 each. They don't have the audacity to say that EU's better than NA right now. We're just letting it cook. We all know that Vitality, they would have never won if they didn't become NA Vitality. They would have lost. But Pharaoh understood that he needed that North American support on his back. He needed NA's in, not EU's in, and that's what elevated him to the top.
Man, was Liquid tanking out against Complexity and Optics so bad that it dropped them below phase, the team that didn't even make it? That's brutal.
That's right. How is Gen G above Complexity? That's the real question. I'm confused by that one. And then how is Rule 1 above Complexity as well? How is Rule 1? Okay? That's one tournament. How is Complexity? How is Complexity not above Rule 1? And Gen G honestly should probably be above Rule 1. I would have Rule 1 about 6. And then Optic at 10 is interesting. I wouldn't put Optic at 10. Why did y'all switch it? What?
Because we value truth. We speak truth.
Take this off, bro. Man, you're doing too much. Take this off, bro. Nobody give you a second major.
Why is Optic make one major, bomb out of it, and get 10?
Yeah, this doesn't make any sense. Like, who is voting on this?
What is he doing? Take it off.
What about Space Station?
And what about Space Station?
I don't know about
Space Station
top 10.
over Optic.
I wouldn't have
I don't have
optic
Space
top
Station
10.
in mind.
I wouldn't have optic
Two-
top 10,
I
but
mean,
also
I
me
get it.
personally, y'all are gonna call it bias, but I would have G2 in there. So and I would have G2 at 10. That's just me. That's just me. Now I think that's a very valid take though. That's just me though.
Okay.
That's just me though. But
We can see it all at Worlds, Bates. How's that
I know you
sound?
sure can. When Massimo's back on that world stage, you saw what he did last year. You saw what he did. He made it all the way to the grand final and then got absolutely
Song got
slapped.
worked, yeah.
but it's okay. It is okay. It's okay.
Okay, well, that was First Touch's top 10, and that is actually everything that we've had for the show today. I'm actually pretty surprised.
Wow.
Thank you guys for saying
What
that
a
the
show.
top 10 was great. We really do appreciate it, but of course, that is going to be it for us. Corelli, Jorby, Chiefs, thank you guys so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it. You guys are awesome and amazing.
Thanks for having us.
Base
Good
World
times.
is class acts as always. World is finally glad to have you back on the show as well too. And then of course everybody who's watches at home, thank you guys for showing up for First Touch week in and week out. We appreciate it. Of course, those who you, again, I have to reiterate this, those of you in Boston who showed up and showed out for the First Touch pre-show, hold a special place in my heart. So thank you guys so much for that. Also, everybody who works on the First Touch team, you guys worked so hard. Thank you guys for all your help, both at the major and here on this show this week as well. As Psionics, thank you guys so much for allowing us to run the show on your platform. That'll be it for First Touch, but of course you're going to want to tune in next week because I believe we have a very special show about the World Championship that you're not going to want to miss. So make sure to keep it locked in on all the socials. We'll see you guys next week for First Touch. 1, 2, toodaloo. We'll see you soon.